All game?
A windbreaker.
Just a hoodie.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm an idiot. You understand me?
What the heck?
Why am I wasting money on nice warm clothes when I do not even wear them out to the baseball games?
That's not smart.
And I even tell myself, like, you better not get upset, okay? I know it's cold out here. I know you got on gloves in your hands or clothes. I still had on my Ugg boots. I was prepared for my lower body, okay? Upper body, I was just like, you are an idiot. You're wasteful more than anything right now because you could be more warm had you worn that big puffer jacket out there. And I chose not to. And all I can say is, I'm just a guy.
You're that guy.
You're not that guy.
I'm not that guy.
Or you're not that guy. Yeah, that's true. You might land on mine next week for that.
Why do we always do the opposite of what we should do as men sometimes? It's all
Well, and women. We do the same things too.
I was thinking to myself, there's no reason for you to be upset they win an extra inning right now. Absolutely not, because it's like 30 degrees and you chose to be cold because I had options of grabbing my big jacket before I left the house.
It's one thing if it's a basketball game and you're indoors.
No.
But baseball, not only is it an outdoor sport,
I knew it,
but it's an outdoor sport that you never know how long it's going to take.
Yeah, I ain't
That's
gonna
the
lie.
biggie about baseball. Like when I cover it and do sidelines for it, you never know. So I just bring 3 coats this time of year in February because I know that it at any point could be freezing or maybe the sun comes out and I get to. So I load up or it might rain.
It might
You're exactly right.
100%.
Yep.
I was
You
just
better
sitting
learn
there.
from that, Mom.
I was sitting there in misery yesterday afternoon, and I legitimately said, Ramon, you are an idiot. You know better.
Somehow you'll survive.
Nah, I did.
You made it.
I was
will
miserable,
survive.
though. I will say that, but I did not complain.
You're just doing it now.
You're just doing it now, I was going to say. Yeah,
That big ass truck and you don't keep a coat in it?
No, I did not,
yeah
man.
my car becomes a rolling closet this time of year.
I'm serious. Like that's what I'm
kinda
saying.
nice.
Like
y'all
I feel
are
like
serious.
I feel like your cleanliness did you in. Like you should be okay leaving a couple hoodies and jackets
Yeah.
out
Oh, yeah.
in your car.
For sure.
Like right now, I could go to Goodwill and have a big ass drop off for my taxes.
You feel like, and I 100% believe you right now too. I 100% believe you. I slipped up yesterday though. I took the heater, did everything we're supposed to, except for my upper body was killing me
You
yesterday.
took a
man.
heater, but not a coat?
That's what I
Makes
thought.
it even worse.
Wait, what? You took a
Makes
heater?
it even worse.
Yep.
I'm so
Sure
confused.
did.
So you're going to
right
catch
now.
everyone on fire, and you're not even going to really be that warm.
Not even be that warm. The logic was, my mindset was, okay, the heater's going to keep you warmer than you think. Except there was a little bit of a wind breeze that come through, and that little small space heater did absolutely
That
nothing.
is so
okay?
The only thing that really matters is was Keisha warm? That's
She
the only,
was.
Right,
Okay, cool.
that
We're
is.
good then.
Because
All
you
right.
know why.
she
I'm
brought
glad
a
you
coat.
asked.
So everyone's happy.
I'm glad you asked, okay? I feel like, y'all let me know if I'm wrong, but guys have certain items that they would love to wear, but they can't wear because of how you would be viewed by other men. Let's just say that.
What, a stocking cap?
No, the stocking cap I was rocking.
That's not
I'm
girly.
good.
Okay.
I'm good, okay?
Depends on what the stocking cap looks
It
like.
is, and she's bragging about it, too. The one with the puff on top, men cannot wear that one. I'm sorry.
That's what I, yeah.
Hold on.
I always cut the puffs off.
Yeah.
Yes!
Even as a girl, I don't like the
you
puffs.
wear the puff on top?
Who cares?
I do.
If it keeps me warm, I don't care.
But the puff doesn't do anything
Life's
extra.
too short to care about wearing a puff on your head.
The girls wear the puff because it's cute.
I don't
Okay.
think it's cute.
All right.
I'm
Either
cute
way,
as
you
heck.
don't think the puff is
No.
cute?
I'm good.
Oh, my God.
I don't want any extra leverage to my head.
You know what women wear that I wish we could wear? What? Those things that like just cover their ears. It's
Oh,
almost
ear
like
warmers.
a band. Yeah, but it's not like the ear muffs,
Sure,
right?
that's
It's,
not
one of them
scientific
too.
name.
Oh, yeah.
it's a hat without the,
The
top.
headband kind of
those
thing.
things look so cool, and I feel like if men wore those, like I would look like a cold Cam Newton if my hair was sticking out the top of that.
Yeah, that wouldn't look good.
I feel like a lot of broadcasters wear those, though, don't they? Like in an open air booth in the winter?
Sometimes, especially if
there
they
are-
got the
there are some
in-ear
men.
stuff.
Maybe not the big
yeah.
puffy
Analysts.
ones, but
Yeah.
anyway.
But to get back to the original one,
You were
women
rudely
can wear
interrupted.
this, but we can't. I don't think so. But it is the oversized Snuggies. The ones that are like super fleecy. They look like shawls that just go all the way down to the ground.
Look, I'd rather be warm than look right, honestly.
Would you really? But I've never seen a guy with these on right here.
Ramona's
I've
showing
never
us
worn that
a
in my
picture
life.
on Amazon.com of a big fuzzy Snuggie.
What the hell is
it is
that?
Well, I mean, you're showing us a pink one.
Listen,
It's like what my
it
mom
was
used
black,
to walk me
an
to the bus
oversized
ride
That's
line.
what my granny used to wear, but I don't ever.
go to a baseball
see
game.
myself wearing
all
that.
the moms have them on.
Really?
All them, and every single one. Keisha was like, "Hey, listen, this thing is warm." I was like, "How's bragging camp going for you tonight, huh?"
So
What
she
size
got
would you
one.
wear?
Huh? I would wear probably they're huge. They are huge. I probably wear 2 or 3X. 2 or 3X in that one.
That's your Christmas present
Christmas
next
is coming
year.
up.
No, we already missed that. Y'all will forget it by then. We got to go through hell and summer, okay?
What is the ideal temperature to be outside in?
Right now or just in general?
In general.
In general?
70
Everyone
degrees.
has a 70. Wow, that's warm.
Yeah.
No, I go 70. The ideal, I go 78. Just enough.
It's even warmer.
I go 78 is enough.
70.
That's your
higher-
ideal temperature?
No higher
That's too
than
high.
82.
Outside?
No higher than 82.
These are
No.
very
70.
specific
Y'all are
numbers.
crazy as hell. I'm thinking like
70 is not
65.
Okay.
That 70. If my
100%.
house is 70, I'm upset.
Of course, all men are upset once it hits 70. As long as it is below 70, you're not going to hear.
We struck
The
a nerve there.
minute that it
Yep.
hits 70, will you quit turning up the heater every morning?
Thank
Travis
you
don't
for no
sound
one
like-
else talking during that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Travis don't
Now
talk
I
like
can't
that.
even get it to 68. Well, at 68, you turned it up one more
That feels
notch.
good. That is where I'm at. Cheyenne
That's
has a
where we
daggum
sleep
thing
at.
attached to her phone where I can tell when she raises it because the whole heat in the house will cut on. I said, did you just mess with that heat? No. If I go in there and it's 72, we're going to have problems. And then I hear the heat click off. I'm like, I know you just did it from your phone.
Yeah,
Stop
exactly.
touching it.
72 in
I
a
do the
home
same
is
thing.
like a furnace.
Yeah, it would
That
be.
sounds terrible.
Yeah, it would
72 is actually a little warm at home. I agree.
be. Yeah.
I
yeah.
think
I
that
do agree on that.
anything over 70 is hot to me, and I'm usually naked at home. So, like,
Well,
that should tell you where I'm at. I like it to be
real.
a good 67,
Right.
68 in my house.
The best,
You
the
like
best
everything freezing.
weather is 62 and sunny or 65 and cloudy.
65.
Oh, really?
I can do it.
For outdoor activities, 50 is the best.
50
Like if
is
you're
the
going on a
best.
run, it's 50 degrees. It's the best temperature.
I would go
I can
no
see you with
higher
a
than
run,
82.
Will.
Like San Diego and 82 with a breeze outside, I would take that all day long. But if we're talking about I just 72 to no higher than 82 is where I would rather dwell in.
Yeah, 70 degrees.
Now, if we go
partly
later in the
sunny.
fall, give me, like, I'm
Cloudy.
with Bird and Will, 65 to 68. We're good right there, 100%. As long as I can do activities and not, like, sweat, like, crazy amounts of precipitation.
See, real quick, we have a 2-story, and so if I go upstairs, it's
bragging camp
warmer.
going,
It's a 2-story apartment, buddy. Slow
dang.
down. Slow down. If we go upstairs, it's warm, so we don't have to turn on the heat as much because the heat rises.
Yeah.
But downstairs, y'all, this coat I'm wearing now, which is a big puffy, I wear this majority of the night when I'm downstairs
serious?
cooking dinner, watching television. I've got my coat on, my socks on, so I look like a complete idiot. But it's cold down there. Yeah, the heat just doesn't circulate down there.
In the house, we're probably 68, be honest with
You'll
you.
also think it's cold in here, and it feels great.
It usually
I
is
wear
cold.
this coat
Now it's
every day.
perfect.
Oh,
I
no,
think
it's
now
not.
it's perfect.
I've
But
got my coat
usually
on.
it is cold as heck in here, Will.
615-737-1045. These are the kinds of conversations you get in the football offseason. Biggest headline of yesterday is that the Bengals will try to re-sign their star players. Okay? Breaking.
Yeah, right. Ooh.
Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson, they will try to get them long-term deals. And another report says that T. Higgins is expected to be franchise tagged.
Breaking.
Cincinnati just does they use every rule possible to enforce their players to stay in Cincinnati. They just do. Like, nobody really uses the second franchise tag. I think Le'Veon was the last one, but Le'Veon also had a deal in place before it all fell apart in that situation. It was to get him to a deal. The way the new CBA was set up this time, okay, you can franchise tag. It's one of the biggest talking points we had as players. The franchise tag. I don't want to be franchise tag. Give me the most money you possibly can. Cool. All right, teams, you negotiate. You win some, you lose some. They were able to still get the franchise tag. With that being said, we wanted to make it harder to actually be franchised twice. And you know what Cincinnati said? Screw it.
Screw that.
We'll do it again.
Yeah.
Because to raise somebody's salary 120% higher than the last year's salary, most times you walk away from that. Now, I don't know if Cincinnati's okay with this just so they can hold over to pay him later, or
That is the plan.
if it's because the salary cap is going to go up high enough to where they can still afford him under there.
Yeah,
It's like $26 million.
it's crazy
if
to
I'm not
me.
mistaken.
It's 26.
You've got Jamar Chase, man. You've got to pay him a lot of money. He's a Triple Crown winner this last year. You're going to have to pay the big dollars for him. You're also going to have to pay on the defensive end with Trey Hendrickson. And I think they need to add on the defensive end as well. They need parts over there. So I know T. Higgins is a big piece to that offense in terms of a second, wide receiver, but you can go get a wide receiver in the draft, right? You can keep continuing to bring in some youth at that position when you have such a dominant one. So I say let him spread his wings and fly, because I just think in the long run you need to spend money elsewhere.
Bert and I was talking before the show and going to pass him off his coffee. And Bert was just like, if you're scared of Cincinnati, just say you are. And it's simply, if Joe Burrow is your man and he's that good and he's that generational, go make another T. Higgins. Like, why would you handcuff him in this type of situation?
Because sometimes you find Tyreek Hill, sometimes you find Sky Moore.
Yeah. Wow.
Sometimes you get Keon Coleman, sometimes you draft Traylon Burks.
Well, see, the good ones, they find a way to make it work with them.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
The good ones do.
They certainly do.
Tom
But
Brady
even
for
still,
years.
like, Sky Moore is the other example of that again. Like Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney were not stars just because they got passes thrown to them by Patrick Mahomes.
He made them serviceable, is what I'm saying. Like, to make a guy start, what's his name? Yoshivos?
Voss.
He's like their third right
Princeton.
now.
But still,
right?
you've had this guy in the house for a while here.
Even if you want to sign somebody else, go sign somebody for $13 million.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Sign somebody that is good, that you don't have to draft and worry about, and just bring somebody else in who's competent that you don't have to pay a premium wide receiver price to. If Joe Burrow's as good as they say he is, which is good, then he can make somebody else good.
I agree.
Here's what we do know, too. The NFL makes it very hard to be good. They do. Because in this situation right here, like, to be good and have good players, you got to also pay big-time salaries or reset again. That's the beauty of the NFL. I don't think colleges have right now. They make it hard to be good. Think about it.
The last player to get 2 franchise tags was Chris Godwin.
Oh,
Playing a second one. T. Higgins last year, according to our crack research department, Bert, is the only player last season to get tagged and then not get an extension and play on a different deal and play on that tag. So Cincinnati doing Cincinnati-like things.
Not surprised.
615-737-1045 is our number. Coming up next, Albert Breer gave us an interesting note yesterday at SI.com about Travis Hunter. There is an assumption a lot of us have been making based on what Travis Hunter will do at the Combine. Some interesting new info came out about one of the top prospects yesterday, and we'll tell you what it is next.
It's Ramon Foss for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Hiller's been in business, y'all, since 1990, and they're family-owned and operated, man. Jimmy Hiller was recently named one of the most admired CEOs because of the way he truly cares for his team and his clients. And if you didn't know anything, well, I'll tell you this. Hiller takes care of the customers on every job, every time, too, and they stand by their work. So much so that they live by their motto, happy you'll be or the service is free. So if a customer isn't pleased with the work performed, they will make it right. They always send a professional, experienced, trustworthy technicians to come into your home and leave it cleaner and better than they found it. They also offer true transparency pricing. What this means is Hiller will line item every part of the job up front so homeowners can easily understand what they're paying for. You will not get any hidden fees, no added costs, no surprises when you get your bill, man. If you need to learn more information about the company I trust, so just simply book with them too. Go to happyhiller.com.
Tuesday morning, kicking off the show on RKW 615-737-1045. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. Kicking off your morning. Coming up this morning, Austin Price of VolQuest at 8:20. Steve Palazzolo of the 33rd team at 9:20. And we have new reporting on Travis Hunter. So it was widely thought that when Travis Hunter was designated as a defensive back for the NFL Combine, a lot of people thought, all right, well, is he a DB? What does that mean? Albert Breer of SI.com with an interesting story yesterday talking about why the NFL, and specifically Jeff Foster, the president of the Nashville Football Scouting, did it. Said they talked with Travis Hunter's people to try to get the best solution to allow him the best opportunity in Indianapolis, and being a DB actually gives him the best opportunity to also be a wide receiver. So they put him with a defensive back so he can go through interviews, medical, and all the other assessments from Monday through Wednesday, and then do workouts with DBs on Thursday. And they also invited him to work out with wide receivers on Friday as well, if he chooses to. Now, Albert Breer says it's still unclear whether he'll work out at all, but this schedule at least gives him the best option to show what he can do at both positions. How do you feel about Travis Hunter working out as both wide receiver and DB at the NFL Combine?
Given that he'll have a day, I like the idea of the setup of it. I do know in those workouts, they also like to beat the crap out of you, too. Yeah. So if he only just did field drills or just routes and stuff like that on Friday with the wide receivers, I feel a whole lot better about it. So it's just a matter of him running routes. I think it's going to be the biggest thing that he needs to accomplish going into it. I'd love to see him give a baseline into what he is at the scouting combine, because I know at Colorado it's just, well, the optics of it just don't look the same when you do it in Indianapolis. So it looks a little bit more congested on any college campus. So I'd much rather see him work out at the combine. Just one, put everything to bed, do the 40. If you are basically a son of Deion Sanders, run your 40 and run out the tunnels too. Like do everything. Like mock him as much as you possibly want to in that moment. I do want to see him at the scouting combine. I'd absolutely love to see him do both days, Thursday and Friday. And then if you wanted to, shut it down when you go back to Colorado or wherever they choose to do their pro day at.
I'm like, good for Travis Hunter, man. This guy, I should say young man, continues to not disappoint me in terms of who he is. He's stuck with this narrative that he's going to go and try his best to play both sides of the ball at the next level. And again, whether we don't think that's ever going to be full-time. That is a very difficult task to do when you bring it up a notch to the National Football League. But never say never in terms of him being a part of the offense in certain packages. If he does decide, or the team decides to put him at cornerback full time, but for him to continue the message, which has always been his message, as I'm going to do both, and now for the combine to do possibly working out for both is awesome. And I think he's stuck with his message from the start, and I really respect that as a young player. I think that just goes to show, if you draft this guy, what you're getting.
Yeah. But to also add to it, this is at least on separate days, he can really define how good he is at either position too. Because the one thing we know, he's a weapon, right? To put on any football field. You see that by them allowing him to compete on both days. I don't think I've ever seen a guy go O-line, D-line in a particular combine either. So for me, I look at this situation and say, if he is that good at being the defensive back, then he might skyrocket up to number one for teams that want to play him at that position too. And then it's the other side. Like, if you are capable, and he is to an extent on the college levels to play wide receiver, show how polished you are as a route runner. But that also may determine, it might depend upon if Shador is throwing, but to make him look cleaner, to make Shador look a whole lot better too. Those are the things you're running into. I'm not sure how many Colorado wide receivers are invited to the combine, but what I will say is this. I know quarterbacks get super finicky as of late about who they're throwing the football to. And Travis to Shador would be a sight that a lot of people would want. Again, with how they control their content, as far as Shador and his camp and Travis and his camp, because both of them got nice podcasts from what I understand, they might just do it on the court back in Boulder, Colorado.
He's got two other receivers who are invited, or one other receiver who is invited, and Jimmy Horn Jr.
Okay.
He does.
Out of
Okay.
Colorado.
Former Vandy receiver who transferred there.
That's right.
Will Shepard, not an invite.
Will Shepard did not get it. And it wouldn't shock me either if Jimmy Horn Jr. ran like a 4.3 himself.
And he's got LeJontay Wester as well there, too. So
He got options.
he could have 3 wide receivers there if he had Travis Hunter, LeJontay Wester, and Jimmy Horn Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, good for Travis. I just hope he does something.
So it feels like this is going to be the tip on what Travis wants to do. Because the best way for him to prove, I want to play both ways, is by working out in both positions in 1 week, right?
Yes, absolutely.
How much does it matter what he wants to do when he walks into a team facility?
How much does it matter? I think it'll matter a good bit until a team decides this is too much for him. Like I said before, the NFL isn't, in my personal opinion, set up for you to be that successful unless you're just that good. And we'll see if he actually is as a player, man. And I know a lot of people are like, well, he's done it. He has done it at every single level, but it is a monster walking into the NFL with guys who are 28, 29, 30 years old that's trying to embarrass you at every single chance they get. Now, if he's good and special enough, he should be able to do some of it, Will. But, of course, it comes down to game planning, and it comes down to scheme, too, for a guy like him. So if he's going to the worst team in the NFL and you're just trying to make a play with somebody or honestly just sell tickets and just throwing them out there, that makes no sense to me. At some point, I do believe that you have to become a master of your traits.
Yeah. I mean, look, when you first draft these guys, obviously they're not making the peak of what they'll make in their career, likely, right? But if you're drafting him number 1 overall, your first priority is to do the best thing you can with that player, to get the most out of that player. And that doesn't necessarily mean throwing him on both sides of the ball and wearing down his body in year 1. I mean, I don't see an NFL franchise. They're a business, right? And so they're going to look at him and say, okay, we'll respect your thoughts and what you're saying you want to do, but let's sit down and talk about what's the best fit for you full time, and then we can incorporate you on the other side of the ball in a certain way. But we can't put you on both sides throughout an entire game. You are now part of an entire organization. You're representing it. We need you as long as you can to be healthy. And I just don't think, that would be in a way malpractice even for a franchise to just throw somebody out there because he said he wanted to.
I personally, let's do this real quick then. I think his availability to play both sides probably depends upon how strong or weak a team he's going to. Let's say if he's drafted here.
Fair.
What's the best position for him to play at in Nashville?
Right now, wide receiver.
Wide receiver.
Yeah, hands down.
Let him specialize in it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because he's not as good of a fit for Darnold Wilson's defense.
Right.
Right now. If he's a
better zone coverage corner than he is a physical man coverage, jam you at the line, bigger guy.
Yeah.
And then for me, if I think Ted McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona, is the number 1 wide receiver coming out this year. It's a quiet conversation around that position. In
wide
general,
receivers in general,
year.
yeah.
So if he comes there, is he better than every wide receiver off the board to help spark this offense? I think he has the capabilities of it.
Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
That also results and boils down to who's throwing him the football too.
Yeah, like the question I think you're asking too is like, where would Travis Hunter be ranked on the draft board if he was only a wide receiver? Because at first, that's probably all that he is to you as a Titan.
Here.
And I think right now I might put him in 1 because, again, the conversation around the wide receivers this year is really quiet. And maybe that's because there's, this weird quarterback situation where they're not highly touted, but they're getting a lot of the mentions, but defensive players, right?
Yeah.
That's another one, especially the Eagles coming off of a Super Bowl where they dominated and how important it is to draft on the defensive side as well. So I almost think I'd maybe put him at 1 or right there with McMillan and who's the kid out of
Luther
Burden from Missouri.
Yeah, there's just not a Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors this year. Like, again, wide receiver is another position where you're probably not getting the same quality of prospect at the top end that you were last season.
Yeah.
No. So is he a case of just being really good, or is he just special because of the type of player he is?
Yeah.
I'll say this though, with the offense that he could be incorporated into in Nashville with the Titans, right? I do think he's a slant to the house type of guy. He catch a 5-yard slant and go to the house. He's shown he has that type of breakaway speed. I do think he can be a better down the field guy. Getting combat catches is something that he would have to work on because, again, how sharp is his running? I mean, his route running. That's what you have to look at when you're drafting a guy like him to play wide receiver, in my personal opinion.
It's just tricky because we're going to be having the same chemistry with insert quarterback name here conversation that we were about Calvin Ridley and Will Levis last year. If he's splitting time. What is the learning curve for Travis Hunter to be successful at both?
To be successful?
How challenging would it be to learn both positions of the NFL?
He's done it all his life, so I think he's capable of doing it. To me, the learning, but that's what I was going to say. To me, learning it is one thing. I can know how to block inside, outside zone, and, hey, I can pop on pass flow and all those types, but actually doing it is where it becomes problematic. And also having the energy for it becomes problematic for him, too. So how good would he be? It depends upon the package that the defense will give him. So if they are playing cover 2 on defense, all right, I feel better about him playing that, or he's in a nickel slot, or he's playing dime. Within spots is good. I'd much rather him here in Nashville specialize as a wide receiver. And
we'll ask Steve Palazzolo that coming up at 9:20 this morning. Where would Travis Hunter be ranked on his board if he was just a wideout and not a corner? We got other nuggets from Albert Breer yesterday as well. The 18-game schedule has been intimated a little bit. If you were paying close attention, you recognized, again, where the Super Bowl is headed in future seasons. So 2026, Santa Clara, 2027, Inglewood. We know the exact date of both of those Super Bowls. February 8th, 2026 in Santa Clara. February the 14th, 2027 in Inglewood. We know the Super Bowl will be in Atlanta February 2028, but no date has been set. Albert Breer says the Super Bowl used to be on the first Sunday in February. Since the league went to a 17-game schedule in 2021, it has been held on the second Sunday in February, which would put that Super Bowl on February 13th, 2028. That the league didn't just give Atlanta that date in October when it was awarded would indicate things are in flux with the timing of the Super Bowl, and that the NFL still hasn't nailed down that timing 4 months later has made it more difficult for officials in Atlanta to start planning hotel dates, convention space, things like that. So if you made the 2027 season that change, it would allow for the league to go to the networks with an 18-game schedule ahead of the 2029 opt-out in television deals as well. What I read in this is I would be surprised if we did not have an 18-game schedule in 2027.
I think there's no doubt that happens. I mean, that's a huge indicator. You've already got the 2 previous Super Bowls lined up, which, by the way, the Inglewood one, February 14th, which is crazy to think about. Just this week, we would be in the Super Bowl, talking about the Super Bowl this past week. But with no date in sight necessarily yet for that one in Atlanta, I think 100% they're planning on pushing this schedule out to 18. And then we see a February 20-something Super Bowl, which is wild.
Depends on the year
to think about.
And also, too, I'm looking it up. I'm looking up some stuff too. But there it is. I found it. So you mentioned the 2028 game too. One thing that has been talked about as of recently is the NFLPA also changed leadership. DeMaurice Smith is no longer the executive director of the NFLPA. Also, he was a litigation lawyer, and it was great for the NFLPA to be in a position to talk to him about the CBA. And, hey, he's fighting for players' rights and the negotiation tactics of, hey, we want this, you take that. Hey, we all need to – it's basically a big conversation to settle in over the CBA. Mm-hmm. Well, they've recently switched executive directors, and this guy who's now the executive director of the NFLPA is very it correlates to what's happening right now in the NFL. This guy is a businessman. His name is Lloyd Howell Jr. He's recently been put in as the executive director. He is a lawyer who works on the business side of contracts. And this is the conversation. This is, from my understanding, why he was voted in, is because he can negotiate business. This 2028 thing / 2030, whenever they decide to renegotiate the CBA, is why he's in place right now. He graduated from Penn, also Harvard Business School. He's a guy that understands the money, i.e. a business deal to be done here. This isn't a war over player rights and stuff like that now. And I feel like, well, I've heard the NFLPA is in a position where they feel like they can fight for more money, i.e. the NFL gets more games too. So that's something also to look at when you look at this conversation about 2028 right now.
Do you think that if this gets pushed to 18 games, which it sounds like it's going to, that slims down the offseason even more? And again, we have to remember voluntary stuff starts in like May, early May.
Yeah.
I feel like at some point, Moan, they're going to have to cut out a lot of things that these guys are, even if it's voluntary, and we talk bad about sometimes the guys that don't go to those voluntary workouts. At this point, I feel like guys are not going to go.
It's essentially it'll essentially be the same schedule as far as the 18th game. You got to think it's still a 20-game year anyway, right? So they'll take away one preseason game and do 18 regular seasons. What training camp would be a little bit different. I would hope so. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
We simply don't know that.
That's the assumption, but not set in stone.
You'd think you'd have to.
You'd think you'd have. What will happen, though, more than anything, I think training camp is going to be a little bit different. You might see a little bit worse ball at the beginning of the season, and players will probably ask for more time off in the offseason. You might not have OTAs. Sure. And I think it's the model that we heard of, if I'm not mistaken, last year, the year before, where they'll basically get rid of OTAs and you'll go to training camp earlier in July and pretty much work into the rest of the season. So it is a fascinating approach to what the NFLPA has done by switching direction with the leadership. Lloyd Howell is the new guy, and he's a Fortune 500
That's an interesting nugget.
Yeah. High-stakes negotiation is what he's into. Not necessarily fighting for player rights, percentages of retirement and stuff like this. Wow. This is a business deal because right now the NFL is making so much money that players and ownership split.
Who votes on him?
Who votes on him? The players do. The representatives do.
So they understood what they were getting.
Oh, yeah. No, they knew this. D was a lawyer, like fight you in court type of guy. NFL and the PA ain't at that position right now because so much money's been made.
Sure. Okay.
615-737-1045 if you want to get in on the discussion. Coming up, the TV numbers from USA Canada Hockey over the weekend are out. They are significant, and they set up a pretty big stage Thursday night for the rematch in Four Nations. Has the NHL just fixed all-star games for everyone? We'll talk about that next. What's up? It's Will Bowling. Do you have a ceiling light fixture that flickers? Do you need an extra outlet or two? Or, hey, do you just have those wall switches that don't seem to work the way that they are supposed to? Well, these all seem to be simple issues. However, they are rarely do-it-yourself projects. Dealing with electricity requires the expertise of an experienced professional. So you got to call the pros over at Lee Company to make sure everything is working the way that it is supposed to. And I'm here to tell you as well, their electrical team can solve any problem you have safely and efficiently. We love that word, efficient, right? 24/7, 365. Lee Company is always available to help you out. They'll get in, they'll get out. It'll be quick, and everything will work properly around the house or around your business. And right now, they got a great deal for you as well. You can enjoy $30 off an electrical service call for a limited time. Just contact Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or head online to leecompany.com for an appointment. That's 615-567-1000. Trust the folks with 14 community locations and over 80 years of experience. Since 1944, Lee Company has been helping this community. 615-567-1000 or online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company, all you need. So if you have not been tuned in to the Four Nations face-off, you've still got time for the peak. Coming up this Thursday, it's RKW 104.5 The Zone. Wrapping up hour number 1, 615-737-1045. Saturday night, the U.S. beat Canada 3-1 in a very fun game of professional hockey. 4.4 million people watched it.
Wow.
On ESPN and ABC. Viewership peaked with 5.2 million viewers around 10:45. That is the most watched non-Stanley Cup final hockey telecast since a Blue Jackets-Bruins playoff game on NBC in 2019 that averaged 4.5 million. ESPN says the game was up 369% versus the current average for NHL games on ABC. For USA and Canada, they're going to have a rematch Thursday. I can't wait. I am very excited for this, especially considering all the fights and all the intrigue of the first matchup, the fact that the second matchup goes from Montreal to Boston, and I'm very excited about this.
There's a lot of big names when it comes to these two teams in particular that we know about. So it's one thing, I think, this Four Nations tournament has been awesome, right? Because you are facing all the best when it comes to hockey around the world, but you are familiar with them. If you're somewhat of even a casual sports fan, you're familiar with some names.
I'll see if I can be.
Yeah, and if you're not a hockey fan, what I think it draws in, like Will's point of this, is the rivalry between these two who are now in the final. Like, you have your U.S. guys that are born and raised here, that play hockey, that play on, NHL teams across the country, but you also have those Canadians that you know of too. And this rivalry has been so intense this year that even for a casual fan, I think it makes it fun to watch this game because of the fights, because of the chippiness. But you do have the raw, incredible talent too on both sides as well. So yeah, I would also encourage anybody who doesn't really like hockey but likes anything sports related to tune in.
Are there any? Oh, my bad.
I was going to say, are these fights normal? Like, are these supposed to happen like this, or not really in these nations?
Boo the anthem, heck yeah.
Okay.
I think it's, there's another level of, I think, behind off the ice stuff that is kind of trickling into this as
Did the
well.
players boo the anthem? No.
No.
Okay,
Right.
it was the fans. Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, I guess they're a representation of their country at that point.
Because, again, they were in Canada for the last win that U.S. got. Montreal, excuse me. Yeah. And then
Canada,
now they're going to be in Boston.
Okay.
So we'll see if there's like a return by, because Bostonians, like Boston people, I love them. They're straightforward, but they can be intense when it comes to their sports.
You the only one that I know love them. I know what you mean by
I like
what
the
they are.
straightforwardness of it. But yeah,
USA losing 2-1 to Sweden, and Philip Forsberg, Gus Nyquist with a goal. So
look at that.
maybe he could do that for the Preds. Need all the goals they can get.
Let's take what they had in this offseason or in this break and bring it back to the Preds.
Are there any turncoats in this? Like, like Joel Embiid has French citizenship, but he played for the U.S. in the Olympics. Like that would be what makes me root for it. If there was an American who was like, no, I have Canadian citizenship. I'm playing for the Canadians. Like, and then I would watch to boo him. But I didn't know if there was any turncoats.
That only happens during the Olympics. I feel like when a lot of people can't qualify, they probably got money obligations behind it, though, too. That is fascinating, Bo Burt. I don't think it's as spicy as this one is. I don't know if you can actually go to the other side now. I just don't think so.
You're not going to switch mid-tournament.
Mid-tournament? Look, either way.
It's just, it's a really interesting thing that I think they hit it in terms of this, break doing something like this.
Is it always like this, though, Kelly?
No.
It's not.
This is the first best-on-best hockey tournament since 2016 and the World Cup of Hockey that season. This was not quite a Stanley Cup final Game 7 number television-wise, but it wasn't far. I think Thursday's game might be. So Saturday's game was the most-watched NHL game in the U.S. since Game 7 Panthers-Oilers last year, which drew 7.67 million.
Yeah.
This was 4.4 million. I think that 7 million number might be in jeopardy. Plus, it feels like ESPN's actually promoting it now.
Yeah.
Like they didn't a lot yesterday, but they will. The lead up to this championship game will be significant on ESPN.
I think the time's good too, because even when you think
Middle of
about
the
the
week.
Stanley Cup playoffs and the finals, guys, it takes you all the way into the summer technically. And so I think a lot of people are pretty much sported out by that point. They're going off on their vacations. They're going and doing their things. This is really a great time because it is a break from football for the most part, except for off-season storylines. You've got NBA, but I think NBA has really gone backwards. I don't know if as many people are tuning in.
It is popular to hate on the NBA.
Yeah, but the numbers are not there right now.
Yeah.
So,
do you see this, Kayla, as something that's going to make hockey a little bit more popular too because of this excitement behind it?
I think if they hit on this and we, like Will said, see numbers go up even more. And look, I think it is helping that there is this U.S.-Canada storyline going on with it. So that might be helping. But the product's been good, that's what matters. The
issue with this separation, I guess, is going on right now is a lot of these guys going to have to go back and intermingle with their teammates.
Too. Their teammates fighting each other through this.
Teammates fighting, that's what I'm saying.
It's crazy. I think that's what makes it fun too. Is you do go back and play with some of these guys.
It is a shame the Preds are so bad and can't capitalize off any of this momentum. Because I'm not motivated to watch any more Predators hockey because of this. Because the Preds are so far away from being relevant. They're closer to the number one pick than they are really competency.
Do I still have to pay a premium to get into the Lexus line?
Oh, yeah.
You still do?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. They make sure it's expensive to get in that building for premium seats.
Well, see.
As it should be. It's a nice experience.
I know, but if you're bad,
maybe it's a little bit cheaper.
Titans tickets were selling for $7.
I don't live on that page of Ticketmaster and stuff the way you do.
Don't do this.
I know they're marketing the heck out of it.
I will say this, though. I do think that this is, if you want to talk about all-star game discourse and things like that, this is the fix because this is the all-star weekend for NHL. Could you imagine an NBA international tournament of 4 teams instead of the All-Star game?
That'd be great.
Where you had France, U.S., Serbia, and another team, Canada.
Yeah. That'd be sweet.
And that's your All-Star weekend. So instead of doing Rising Stars versus all these teams that are picked, just have an international week.
That'd be cool.
That would actually be pretty sick.
I wish you could do that with football, though. That's the one that we just can't figure out.
Different kind of physical tool.
That's just not.
There's
it's
no
not there.
countries that could possibly.
But NBA could do it though.
Yeah, NBA could. Yeah. NFL, I will come out of retirement to play in that game. Yeah. I promise you, I won't end on beating another country down. I do mean that. I promise you.
I wish there was something like that.
So you won't play for the Titans, but you'll play in the Pro Bowl.
Hell yeah! This comes down to the haves versus the have-nots. Okay, these young cats, they're training big time right now. Okay, like another country. Oh, my gosh, I'm grabbing a German defensive lineman and throwing him into the dirt. You hear me?
It is interesting, though, because I think soccer has passed hockey in America in a lot of ways.
Soccer has.
Yes,
like when you look at television numbers and you look at relevance of European soccer and Champions League final and World Cup games in the U.S. Compared to the NHL, I think soccer is right there with hockey. Hockey is distant behind football, basketball.
That's what I'm talking about.
It is distant number 1 football. It is distant number 2 basketball and baseball, and then you're going to kind of everything else. But I think of the next generation, soccer is right there with hockey.
Yeah, and I know Slay was saying in the chat that the NBA is more watched than hockey. That's not what I was saying. I was just saying this is a good time for hockey to do something like this in their All-Star break because there are other times of the year where they're not going to get as many eyes on the product. And so, this is probably the best time.
She said what she said. She said it's more popular than the NBA. Hey, you take that.
Numbers,
you take that, Savage.
I said the numbers maybe don't show that it's as popular as the NFL. And it's not. So
615-737-1045.
I stand on my word.
Hockey's still ahead of soccer for now, but we press on. Give me 10 years. Soccer will be ahead of hockey. Coming up, hour number 2 of the show. Coming up here at 7, there is a Titans free agent target likely getting franchise tagged. And Cam Ward has a very strong message to teams who don't draft him. And that's next.
What's going on? 7:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Starting today through March 4th, teams can designate franchise or transition tags for players. Adam Schefter notes that it is expected to be a quiet tag cycle with minimal options as follows. Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins, Chiefs guard Trey Smith, and Vikings have a split option. They could either tag quarterback Sam Darnold or cornerback Byron Murphy Jr. Murphy, who started 17 games and had 6 interceptions last season for the Vikings. Bengals beat reporter James Rappian reporting that Cincinnati does plan to tag T. Higgins. This would give the team and player until July 15th to negotiate a long-term deal, but if no deal could be reached, Higgins would be playing under the $26 million tag for 2025. Higgins played under the franchise tag last year, which cost him $21.8 million, and the second tag triggers a 20% increase of the previous payout. To college hoops, where number 4 Duke took down Virginia 80-62. Cooper Flagg, 17 points, 14 rebounds, and 19. Arizona takes down Baylor 74-67. Tobe Awaka with 14 points and 12 rebounds. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW, Ramon, Kayla, and Will rolls into the 7 a.m. hour number 2 on this Tuesday morning on 104.5 The Zone and streaming live on Zone TV. You watch the show on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. That is where you see Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, myself, Will Bowling, and you hear the dulcet tones of Robert Walsh. Coming up in 15 minutes, we're going to play the game show that is sweeping the nation. Will Levis OR? Are there any quarterbacks that you would say, I'd rather have Will Levis? Well, we'll give you some options, one of which you'd be trading for, another one you'd be really paying for. Streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV. You can hit the comment section as well to send your thoughts in. Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch in the comment section there in the F&M Bank chat. So Cam Ward has a very strong message for teams who do not draft him. He says, you're either going to draft me or you're not. If you don't draft me, that's your fault. You've got to remember you're the same team that's got to play me for the rest of my career, and I'll remember that. Strong.
Yeah.
From Cam Ward.
That's who Cam is. He's had a chip on his shoulder ever since he started playing football. I mean, he's always been overlooked. He's always kind of been the guy that had to take the next step, which is great because it's molded him into the player that he is. So I can see people making a big deal about this. It's not a big deal. This is Cam Ward. He plays with the chip on his shoulder. It's who he is. And I say, if that's what you feel and, the Titans pass up on you or whatever it might be, then, yeah, when you play them, if you're that good, you make them pay.
Do you view it as a smart comment to have, too, before going into the combine and draft season, too?
I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see if he throws at the combine. I think that's one of those things where if you are going to come out here and say that, which, again, doesn't surprise me. That's kind of how Cam is and how he competes. I don't think that it looks as good, though, if maybe you don't throw or maybe you don't participate in things visually because that's what people are judging you on. Now, coaches, I don't think give a damn. I think it's all about what they see with Cam in those interviews, his competitiveness. He is a big team guy. So when it comes down to it, I think it's the team that matters, but I do think the outside perspective could be a little different from statement like this just because we always overread everything or overlook everything.
Because
overdo everything, whatever you want to
that's
say.
part of like this article too is basically, him being asked about why he pulled out of the Pop-Top Bowl and stuff like that. And he pretty much said, I just think we all got what we needed out of it. They seen things that they they think they needed to work on for this upcoming season. They knew, what I had online, basically. So he was basically saying he was getting in and getting out. I just look at the comments like, pick me or not, I'll just make you pay for it. Like, that does put a little bit of a, hey, We'll keep up with these types of conversation that you have in pre-draft. I just personally, again, I know he's a very confident guy. He's always been his way. He's back against the wall type of individual. It's just at this time of the year for as many things that teams can knock you on. Like, that's the thing about it. Like, this isn't to build you up season as far as NFL teams go.
Look at all the stuff that Shedeur Sanders says and does. And, I mean, he gets – it's part of it.
He's not going at teams like pick me or not. Like, he hadn't said that type of thing. Like, he's confident in himself and speaking about, like, he hadn't directed it at the NFL is what I'm saying. Like, now I feel like –
it's not a threat. He's just –
it somewhat is a threat at this point,
when it comes to his
like,
play, I'd be like, okay, damn, all right, that's the challenge. Like, it doesn't – I think it's just a part of – what we deal with now with social media. Like, it is what it is when it comes to these quarterbacks. They're going to say things, they're going to do things. All of them do it, right, for the most part. And how you look at it, you're not going to really be able to say, oh, yeah, we told you so, or, oh, shoot, we should have drafted you until it's all over.
Yeah,
so
that's very true.
I just think, like, let them kind of be who they are in terms of we let Shedeur Sanders, at least I do, because I'm not hating on Shedeur Sanders for other things that he does outside of football, the rapping. I've never, ever said I don't think he's a good quarterback because of that. So I'm not going to do that with Cam.
Shedeur Sanders' quote when asked about being the number one pick said, "Why would I be mad? These are good problems to have. You could be in a way worse situation. Being number one doesn't really matter to me. It's all about fit."
Yeah.
That was Shedeur Sanders, and pretty much asked the same question. So just to contrast how both of them have answered it.
Yeah, I'm just saying with other things Shedeur has said and that people want to go and attack him, that's what people are going to do. So I'm not going to go and attack Cam for saying something that he believes. That's who he is. I've read you what the anonymous coach told me.
Yeah, of course.
And that's who he is. So I'm not going to attack his character because he's going to go.
I don't think anyone's attacking his character. I just think it's similar to when Caleb Williams told the Iowa punter who got drafted by the Bears, "You're not going to need to punt much." Like, right? Yeah. Like, it's a year ago, Caleb Williams went to Torrey Taylor, who got drafted by Chicago, and said, "We won't need you much here."
Caleb also had a huge history of doing insane stuff.
I know, but it's one of those things that you don't put it out there.
Like not talking to the media when he lost and, just not being a team player when it comes to that kind of stuff in college. It happened multiple times.
So my thing with Cam is this time of the year, like, as much as we're doing it right now, pick apart everything that you say, allowing this type of stuff to creep in to where teams and players and everybody else can have this as bulletin board material is what I'm saying. Like, there is a professional way of saying that, hey, look, man, I'm in a position to where I know I'm very confident in myself, and if teams choose to pick me, then they'll have a really good player. It's the part where he said, okay, you're either going to draft me or not. If you don't draft me, that's your fault. Like, yeah, we know that is the case, and it's not a personal shot at Cam. It's just that at certain points in this pre-draft conversation, you just kind of say that with a little bit of a smoother stroke of the pen more than anything.
Yeah, and again, that's not who he is. I mean,
that right there is where honestly, it can potentially get him in trouble with these types of statements. Unless you really feel like you can back this up, and he's going into an unknown league of guys
and that's his
that
choice.
Are willing to prove him wrong.
That's fine, and that's his choice if he's going to say that. I'm just saying, just with background of it, I wouldn't be going this hard for someone unless I've gone to multiple people and talked about Cam who are very close with him. And that is who he is. He literally has been that type of competitor, chip on his shoulder. He's going to say those types of things. For the most part, if he's ever said anything, he's backed it up in college. And now he's saying this, so I'm not saying he doesn't need to back it up. If you're going to say something like this, you damn sure better back it up. But I don't think NFL teams are going to knock him for being a competitor like this. They're going to see in those interviews who he is as a person. I
agree with you. I'm not saying Cam's not going to be successful at all.
No, we don't know that. None of us do.
I'm not saying he's not going to be successful. What I'm saying is to have a comment out there, either you pick me or I'll see you later, pretty much is what he's saying.
That.
I get that too. But in this pre-draft, to have that openly be out there before the combine is just one of those things. It's like, okay, you can kind of keep that to yourself a little bit more than anything.
Yeah.
But I ain't him and he ain't me. It's just the way I would have dealt with this situation and how I would have worded what he's saying. He's got confidence. I do not deny his confidence. I do not deny his playmakeability when it comes down to what he's capable of. But he's also got to be in a spot when you're the head of the franchise. Sure. There's a lot of things that are okay to say, and there's a lot of things that you just say, you know what, don't say that. Now, I felt like, in my opinion, it was, okay, it's between you and Shedeur the entire way around. I hadn't seen Shedeur say this towards NFL teams. And again, one thing I know about the league, if you're good enough, they will find you, they will play you, and there's no way to hide you whatsoever.
Yeah, and I don't care. I think both of them are going to be able to succeed in this league. I'm not picking or taking sides. I only say this.
But you do side with Cam a little bit more.
Absolutely, because I know more about him, and I've talked to more people behind the scenes. So I'm not going to come out here and say something that I don't believe in because I haven't done the research on it. Like, I truly believe in that because of the other people and resources that have given me these things that, I don't know him personally, but I know of things and people around him who say these things. So, yeah, again, I want both of them to succeed. I really do. And I think both of them have interesting, strong personalities in their own way. And I think that's actually good for a franchise if they can do it on the field.
Thomas in Pennsylvania, 615-737-1045. What's up, Thomas?
Hey, buddy. Hey, Kayla. Hey, Roman. Hey, Will. I'm going to give you guys something that nobody's talking about. First, you draft Carter at 1 because there's no guarantee the Browns is going to pass up on them when they trade Garrett. 2, Big Jeff and the Patriots seem like a marriage that's made in heaven because Mike Vrabel wants them. Trade them and get number 4, take Mason Graham. In the first pick in the second round, number 35, take Jordan Birch, the edge or defensive end, whatever you will call him, from Oregon. Look what the Eagles done to Patrick Mahomes. And I know you're saying that we need to take a quarterback. Well, guess what? We can get a better quarterback without the headache, without the drama, without being a prima donna mama in the 4th round with Kyle McCord or that kid from Memphis or Will Howard. And I know we need to address our offensive line, but guess what? There's a guard from LSU, Miles Frazier, and there's a tackle from Connecticut, Chase Lunt, I think is his name. Neither one gave up a sack last year. I know we need another wide receiver. San Jose State wide receiver Nick Nash, 6'5", led the league in touchdowns and receiving yards in college football last year to be your number 2.
Thank you, Thomas. What do you think, Roman?
I had no comment on that one. It works out. It sounds good to me. I'm willing to roll with it.
Let's start here. Jeffrey Simmons is not worth the number 4 overall pick. That's just, that kind of takes away all of it.
Yeah.
You could not make that trade.
Also,
you'd have to give up more.
Also, they're trying to build that line in depth. I don't think they're going to get rid of their only leader and part of that line right now.
The Titans have one elite player, and they're not going to get rid of him because then they would have 0 elite players.
Yeah, you got to have some base.
Unless he asks for a trade like Myles Garrett does.
Roman, that was crazy.
I've heard worse. I'm unbothered.
Roman is a brand, too.
I almost named one of my boys Roman.
615-737-1045. Would you rather have Will Levis or insert quarterback name here? We'll give you the choice of a bunch of guys or the guy you already have coming up.
It's Ramon Foster for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Man, listen to me. They have my approval on this deal that could change your life. Right now, they are running the Behind the Lines offer. It's a $37 consultation. All right, and that includes, listen to me, a doctor's visit, x-rays if you need them, and your first treatment. If you need more in-depth treatment also because you're part of the Zone family, and just tell them you know me and they'll know you too, all right? You'll get 50% off spinal decompression treatment, which I myself have also had, man. I promise you, it's made my back feel better, made my neck feel better. Also, they lay you into this spinal decompression machine, man, and I promise you, state of the art, you won't even really feel the tugs that it give to you, but it will relieve those joints. You know how it goes in that low back pressure too, is it pretty much needs space to breathe a little bit, and that's what Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley can do for you, man. Listen to me, the facility is one of the best around. Whether you need laser, whether you need cold treatment, they can do all of those things for you, man. You can start your road to a pain-free life, man, by calling the folks that I trust at the Wellness Institute of Nashville at 615-246-5009 or go to painisbad.com.
RKW on 104.5 The Zone continues and streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. That is where you hit the comment section to join the F&M Bank chat. 615-737-1045. I'd love your participation on comparing Will Levis to other Titans quarterback options because, guys, we talked about this the other week about realistic QBs who could get an opportunity here. How many of them compared to Will Levis are the worst option? Honestly.
Yeah.
Or are Titans fans just so out on Will Levis that they would literally rather have anyone available to them other than Will Levis? So we're going to start, and a couple of these are going to have caveats, with Sam Darnold for $40 million a year. Do you want Sam Darnold for $40 million a year on an average annual salary instead of Will Levis? Would you rather have Will Levis or Darnold for $40 million?
Stick with me on this.
I'm riding.
Because people are going to get real mad. I'm just warning you. I don't think right now bringing in a bridge quarterback for that amount of money for that long of a contract is a smart idea when it comes to the future of this franchise. Because remember, we're looking to when they move into this new building in a few years.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I would actually say I'm going to pass up on that because that kind of connects you with Sam Darnold for a long-term deal. You're paying a lot of money where, again, you have other parts of this roster you need to fill and build depth at. So I'm actually going to take Will Levis in this situation over Sam Darnold because I feel like, if anything, they're still going to go next year and draft a quarterback or try to do that if this doesn't work out in this bridge year. So, and I still just think that would be tying you long-term to somebody who you don't really want long-term.
Yeah, for sure. I look at Sam Darnold's situation and say, like, the Titans are in a tough spot. They need something. That's the only issue that you run into as it pertains to getting Sam or not, or getting somebody cheaper or sticking with Will Levis is, I know this. Sam Darnold showed last year that he can run an offense. Given an opportunity to, he can be put in a spot to where he can go win for you. He did that. And I know they got a lot of different weapons. Yeah, they got a lot of good weapons on that Minnesota team, and their coach is one of those guys. We think also Brian Callahan's supposed to be one of those guys too. If we're talking about, if I'm Coach Brian Callahan and I got the opportunity to save my job by winning football games, because I hate to keep saying that about him, but there is a conversation too that, look, with so much newness, front office restructuring, philosophy restructuring, like, he has to show a winning product. And Sam Darnold may help him. The only issue is Sam also more recently, has a stench on him too. At the moment that he has some bad happen, then they can go really bad for him and his team, and you still get fired. So I'm not opposed to bringing in Sam Darnold, especially at $40 a year. I need a little bit less, but I'm taking him in that situation.
So you're taking Darnold?
I'm taking Darnold over Levis.
See, we talked about this a few weeks ago, and I remember I was leaning Levis on this discussion. I'd still rather have Sam Darnold. I honestly would, because you can get out of whatever you're paying him after 2 years. If you gave him a 4-year deal worth $160 million, you're gonna have it out after 2027. Like, you're gonna have it out going into a new stadium. I just think it's so critical to learn if Brian Callahan is good at this and how many players around him are competent. So I would still take Darnold, but that one is not as much of a slam dunk as I think a lot of people think it is, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah,
and the results of his play and potential here, or as far as signing him here as a slam
I don't think
dunk.
it's a slam dunk decision as easy as many people would think, because that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
It just doesn't line up with what I think they're selling, what they're doing right now with Mike Borgonzi now in charge. It doesn't line up with, I guess, what they put out there of building from the base and not spending as much money on people in free agency. To me, like, that would kind of be going against what they said. Technically, would he probably get you more wins than Will Levis would at this moment? Yes. But again, Sam Darnold was surrounded by a lot of great things in Minnesota, including a head coach who had already proven like he's done a good job with quarterbacks in that system. So
the only thing that really gives me optimism about signing Sam Darnold is this. If we're talking about Borgons and we're talking about everybody else involved with it, is he this franchise's Alex Smith too? Because he'll be 29 at the start of the season. You don't have to commit to him, to keep him, one, to set a standard of playing. And then years later, or 2 years later with Sam Darnold, if he proves to be competent, above 500, then do you go get your mid-round quarterback at that point too? Because I do think like it is a race to find a guy here. But there's also so many questions that you have to answer that justifies getting any of these younger dudes, because you're going to inherit a guy the same way Sean Payton did and Russell Wilson, and then you're going to find yourself trying to find you a Bo Nix. It's the only thing that I say for Sam. You can get Sam for a 3-year deal, maybe cut him after year 1 or be out after year 2 and continue on this journey and trek of building up this team still without having to give up draft picks too.
In 2014, Alex Smith signed a 4-year, $68 million deal with the Kansas City Chiefs. That was a $17 million average annual salary. Again, talking about 4-year deal. It feels like that's what Sam Darnold is going to require, either a 3 or 4-year contract. Based on what he did this season, the percentage of the cap of that $17 million, similar to what $30 to $40 million would be for Darnold moving forward into next season. So that would be the closest comparison to getting an Alex Smith if Borgonzi wanted to do that again. By the way, Buck Rising on Twitter at Buck Rising says, Will Levis OR sounds like an exercise out of Saw, he says.
Well, might be. What are you going to cut off next?
We're not trying to hurt him. We just might cut him off the team. Justin Fields. Will Levis or Justin Fields? This one seems easy.
Justin Fields. I think he's still gotten short-sighted in his career. And look, he has to prove that too, but he's not really necessarily had the best opportunities up to this point. And part of that is he started for the Steelers this season with Russell Wilson kind of banged up, but he didn't get to play much. He started in 6 games this season. But if you look at just that 6-game sample size, guys, he had a 65.8% completion rating, just over 1,000 yards in that small sample size, 5 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. To add to it, guys, again, we talk about the dual threat athlete he can kind of be. And I know Mike Borgonzi has brought that up too with having an athlete now at quarterback and how important it is in this day and age and the offenses that they're seeing. He added almost 300 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns in that, again, small sample size. I think you could really utilize and maybe continue to mold a player like this. Now, again, does it fit in Brian Callahan's scheme? That's everybody has kind of mentioned that too with Justin Fields. I would love to have a player like that still very young. I think that'd be an upgrade over Will Levis.
You get a longer term commitment, I feel like, out of Justin because he does have that potential. He's been in the league for a few years and stuff like that too. It does. Well, for me, I feel like you got to reshape your offense if you're bringing in Justin Fields too. So there's that side of it. Is are you willing to bet long term? But give me Justin Fields over Will Levis though. That's the easy answer for me on that one.
Easy. Yeah. Justin Fields.
For
what you're going to pay, for how quickly you can get out of it if it doesn't work, for the athletic ability, for the age, for the arm talent.
Have a higher ceiling
than who?
Will Levis.
Right now, I'd say
Justin Fields.
I don't know.
Higher floor?
That's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, I
think his floor is higher.
But
he throws a lot of picks, too.
Yeah, he has. Yeah. He has his issue. Even in Pittsburgh this last year and watching the games, he would just flip the ball away. Good thing
he's got that other part of his game. And that is like an upside compared to Will Levis, where I know Will can be an athlete at times, but it doesn't always go well for him.
Justin truly runs the ball.
Yeah.
I love this comment, by the way, on YouTube that says, Sam Darnold would set us back the same way Tannehill did.
Okay.
Tannehill set you back by taking you to the AFC Championship game. He
gets just stray bullets all the time, doesn't he?
You went from getting shut out in Denver to going to Tannehill midseason and making the AFC title. Yeah, it set you back, didn't it?
That's so disrespectful.
Y'all, come on now.
It is. But, hey, AJ and Tannehill, monster, okay? AJ without Tannehill, okay, different conversation to be had there.
Also different coordinator, la, la, la.
Don't do Tannehill like that.
Will Levis or Aaron Rodgers?
Give me Levis.
Really? Why?
Give me Levis. Hell yeah. Aaron
I'll
Rodgers
give you
to
some
me,
stats in a minute.
Aaron Rodgers to me isn't a franchise bridge quarterback in his career right now.
Okay.
You have to move around too many parts for Aaron Rodgers to get Aaron Rodgers to operate correctly. It's the way I view this one. Is he a guy that can make plays for you? Yes. I also look at him as if now you handcuff yourself to Aaron Rodgers. And on top of it, in an era where the Titans should be working and not many mouths talking, he continually has to go on Pat McAfee to speak about his team issues too. And I ain't ever just watched his whole entire segments, but it's just so much exposure to a guy in the last 3 or 4 years have done nothing positive for his teams. And that's just, no, he hasn't.
Okay, so I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan. Y'all know that. But if it comes to production and making the team on the field better, I almost would say I'll give up kind of judging him and what he is off the field for a year, because I think it would be a good year true bridge quarterback contract that, as wild as it is, he did kind of have a relationship with Zach Wilson when Zach Wilson was there and did help him. Not in maybe the terms of winning more games, but it was said that he had a good relationship with that quarterback. So that wasn't toxic at all. So maybe he could be a leader in some ways for that year. But look at his numbers last year, guys. Aaron Rodgers played in all 17 games. He had 3,897 yards passing, 28 tutties, 11 interceptions, which we say, okay, double digits on those. But even behind a line that was also questionable, yeah, he was sacked 40 times. Will Levis, for example, sacked 41 times this year. But those numbers are gigantic compared to what Will Levis put up this past season, guys, in 12 games that he played in. I mean, it's almost double everything.
I'd take Zach Wilson over Aaron Rodgers right now.
Where is Zach Wilson?
To be completely honest with you.
Still in Denver, right?
Here's the other thing. They went 5-12 last year, too. With Garrett Wilson, with the running game, with Devontae
and they
Adams.
also had coaching issues and drama with that.
You know what you have here?
Coaches.
You have the exact same thing here too. So Aaron Rodgers was supposed to be the guy that took the New York Jets to another level, and he did not.
Sure.
So what makes me think a worse team in the Tennessee Titans is going to be able to bring him in and do better with him? It's just not even set up for him. If he took 40 sacks last year, he's taking 52 down here this year because I think their offensive line may be a smidge better than the Titans. I'm not into overselling for a guy that's probably closer to a gold jacket than he is a winning team at this point.
Yeah,
it's the way I view
and
it.
again, I'm just looking at strictly the numbers in this situation, and his numbers are a lot better than Will Levis. But You're right. There's always the other part of Aaron Rodgers you have to take into account. And in the past, in the last couple of years, that hasn't boded well for the team overall. He does seem to be somebody who, is polarizing.
A Hall of Fame quarterback, in my opinion, should not lose to Bo Nix in a head-to-head 10-9 loss.
Give me Rodgers. Operation of the offense would be significantly better under him than under Will Levis. And I want to see what Brian Callahan and this offense ceiling is if the operation makes sense and works, if the ball goes to the right place. Up next in Will Levis OR, we have Russell Wilson. Will Levis or Russell Wilson?
I'll take Russ. He's going to be cheap. He's going to be in a position where he can at least improv with his legs, get you out of bad situations too. Russ is efficient. He's going to throw the moon ball, give you an opportunity to get 50-50 penalties down the field. It's just a matter of how long will he hold on to the ball. Mm-hmm. But he plays with an understanding that he's got to be mobile and move around the pocket.
Yeah,
I'm taking Russell in this one.
I am too. I'm not big on Russell Wilson in terms of, his antics. I know it's not bad stuff, but he's just annoying to me. But I can't take that into account. I got to look at Russell Wilson, the player last year. 11 games, 2,482 yards, 63.7% completion rate, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Guys, the numbers aren't bad, right? And I do think he stayed. Once he got past the initial health issue that he was dealing with where he didn't start the year, he was serviceable. He was good. I mean, and he is a leader in. There have been players that have said, he is good in the locker room. We've also had players say he is kind of somebody you look at as a distraction. But I'd say at this point of his career, if it's a 1-year deal, I'll take it.
95.6 quarterback rating last season for Russell Wilson in 11 games. 5 points better than Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Russ. Let Russ cook.
Let him cook.
Better than Will Levis, cooking up mayonnaise. Kirk Cousins. This one's easy.
Yeah, for you.
No, it's easy.
What you mean?
Kirk Cousins over Will Levis, 100%. You're paying him nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. So Albert Breer wrote about this yesterday again. Atlanta has $62.5 million spent on Kirk Cousins. He is due $27.5 million this year. There is offset language in his contract. If he is cut, the only way his new team pays more than the minimum is if someone decides he is worth more than the $27.5 million he is already due. You would get Kirk Cousins for what Pittsburgh got for Russell Wilson. Free. You would literally get Kirk Cousins for the league minimum here in Nashville. 100% you take him over Will Levis.
I don't know. It's hard
Why not?
for me to, because it's just hard to look at, like, he lost his job.
So did Will
Like,
Levis. On a worse team.
Well, Will Levis technically got hurt.
And then he lost his job.
Yeah.
He got benched too.
I just think Kirk Cousins is a proven veteran, got paid a lot of money. Will Levis did not get paid a lot of money. He's not a proven veteran. Kirk Cousins is. Like, he had expectations to go to Atlanta, all the chains and all the things that come around with it. Then you lose your job to a guy that they didn't even know they were really going to draft a quarterback in Michael Penix. I think that's the part that, like, that kind of is a red flag to me at this point of his career, where he is kind of dealing with, the ailment. And I know he came back from the Achilles. I get it. But that, to me, is a little hard to take in when you lose your job as a veteran starter.
Well, of course, it was also brought up that Penix was going to end up being the guy, and the health of his Achilles. Again, he should be better 2 years removed most times. Most time players are 2 years.
It was surprising.
Better.
Aaron
It was the
Rodgers
shoulder.
played
It was
the
the
whole
shoulder
game.
that was bothering him.
It
for
was
the most
other
part?
stuff. It was not the Achilles that was bothering him.
I'm taking him because he's going to be cheap. I'm taking him because he's going to fit in the box, too, and he's not going to ruffle any feathers.
We just talked a few weeks ago. What's the value of leadership and a guy who wants to be here and is going to help the culture of the locker room? That is exactly who Kirk Cousins is.
Yeah.
I don't just say that because I would want to grab a drink with him and go get Starbucks and go to Target and walk around and get some Kohl's cash with Kirk. Like, I'm not saying this just because I like him as a person, but, like, legitimately, he fits the profile of what you want. Someone who's going to mentor a younger quarterback and make it easier for whoever's next for really cheap on a deal you could get out of like that.
By the way, who are we assuming the younger quarterback is here, if that's the case?
The younger
that they
quarterback?
draft one?
Maybe.
Either way,
That's the other weird thing.
We're just asking Will Levis or.
Right.
Yeah, I think regardless, they're taking a quarterback, whether it be the fourth round or the first round at this point. It's the way I view their situation this year.
So there is another quarterback we've not talked a ton about because we've assumed that he is not available. Are you interested at all in making a deal for Matthew Stafford? Or would you rather go with another option? We'll talk about that next. RKW on 104.5. The Zone continues on this Tuesday morning, playing the game of Will Levis OR and giving you other quarterback options. Would you rather have Levis or would you rather have guys like Daniel Jones, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields? I know Ramon Foster wants Daniel Jones instead. I
would take Daniel Jones. High risk, low income, you have to pay to him also.
We all in agreement on Daniel Jones over Will Levis?
I don't know. I'm
really
kind of half and half on this one, guys. And I know that 3HL are big-time advocates of Daniel Jones. I just, again, when I'm looking at what he did last year with the Giants, and look, there's nothing better about this Titans offensive line and weapons really here either. Daniel Jones, again, he played in just 10 games before, getting the boot. He had over 2,000 yards, just 8 touchdowns. He had 7 interceptions. And in that small amount of time, he was sacked 29 times. I don't really know if the product would even be better over here out of him because you're not upgrading to a better team. You're kind of just going lateral in a way. So unless he did some major upgrades on himself in the offseason, I don't even know if I can say Brian Callahan, I'm convinced yet that he could make Daniel Jones better. But I do see it from the perspective of everybody gets a second chance. Everybody deserves a second chance. I just don't know if this would be the best second chance place for Daniel Jones.
So I'd take Daniel Jones over Will Levis.
You got Levis?
I think for maybe just a fresh start with somebody who could possibly prove something a little more because it is a new place, I'll take Daniel then, just for that reason. But I don't know if he's really proven to be better at this point coming off of last season.
I like the idea of a Duke quarterback pairing up with Brian Callahan. I think Brian Callahan likes the type of QB Daniel Jones is.
Yeah. I would think so too, just on the basis that he's going to stand in the pocket and deliver if you need him to. It's a matter of scheming it up for either one of these guys. It's a system at this point too. This is going to be a very fascinating number 1 overall pick conversation for the rest of the year.
So D Good on YouTube has noticed what I'm doing and says Will wants anyone but Will Levis. LOL. Correct.
Yeah.
That is my point.
What's wrong with that?
I do not want Will Levis to start another game for the Tennessee Titans unless somebody gets hurt. I am done. I am out. I do not want to watch Will Levis play for the Titans anymore. I would rather have literally anyone else available other than maybe Zach Wilson to be the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans who's a free agent and available to you. There's one other option I want to give you in a minute. That would be a trade. Mm-hmm. But first we go to the phones. Andy in Clarksville, 615-737-1045. What's up, Andy?
Hey, first of all, a little traffic alert. Just past exit 11 on 24 coming eastbound towards the city. There's a massive pothole that's eaten like 12 cars that are on the side of the road with having to change tires. So be careful out there. Those potholes are going to be growing over the next few days. As far as all the quarterbacks, Will, I think you might have actually convinced me about Aaron Rodgers only because it would bring Hard Knocks here. It would bring some attention to Tennessee, and it might actually let us know how good Callahan's system is. Although I think you're getting ready to talk about Stafford. I love him. He would be super awesome. So I think, and the thing fans need to realize is Will Levis is still going to be here. He's going to be here as a backup because he costs us nothing to keep him on the roster. So just because you pick up somebody doesn't mean he's going to get jettisoned. And I think that's a lot of people just go, well, why didn't they just cut him? That, you still need 3 quarterbacks. So it's an interesting exercise you guys are doing this morning.
Thank you, Andy.
That's right. We're making you use your brains.
Here's what we're okay with is what I'm hearing. And this is it is what it is. We're okay with Aaron Rodgers being able to be on Pat McAfee and have a circus around here, but it's a different conversation for Shador real quick.
Well, I haven't said that, so I'm not going to agree with that.
But both are bringing cameras. Both are bringing...
Yeah.
And so that's...
And I haven't said anything about... I don't know what other people are saying, but...
I'm okay with both doing it, if that's the case then.
Yeah, because if you can get... Again, I was just looking at Rodgers. I don't like all the extra stuff. I'm going to admit it.
But it comes with them. Same as Shador.
But I'm just saying... I don't care about Shador. Doesn't bug me. Rodgers has had a proven track record of letting it affect, I think, his team because of how much he's in the media. However, if this is just a simple drill of trading in and out a player right now because of what their production has been, Rodgers has had the better production compared to Will Levis last year, point blank. So if it's a 1-year thing for me, and I don't want Hard Knocks here, I'm sorry, I don't want it here. It's enough with him coming over here and doing McAfee if he comes over here and does that. But I'm okay with a year of that if he can be what he was on the field last year.
Somebody said Ramon admitting Shador is a circus. Is Aaron Rodgers a circus?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I don't think Shador is a circus.
I'm just saying, I don't say that. It's just, I'm saying what some say.
I think the difference between the two is I think Aaron Rodgers enjoys and encourages the circus to follow him.
Yeah.
Perhaps more so than Shador Sanders. Shador Sanders didn't pick who his dad is.
Right.
Because of Deion's association with Shador, there will always be extra attention and an even brighter spotlight on Shador Sanders. He didn't pick that. Aaron Rodgers, by the choices he makes, chooses to get the attention because he craves and covets the attention so much.
And by the way, this is not an exercise of drafting, and this is just a simple exchanging Will Levis for somebody else. We don't even know yet if you were to pick, Shador Sanders or Cam Ward.
Correct.
This is just trading in out one for the other. So let's not complicate it.
Would you rather have Will Levis or trade the number 35 overall pick for Matthew Stafford?
Number 35 overall pick.
So
Stafford.
Albert Breer has reported about Stafford's market and how a first-round pick continues to be the asking price for the 37-year-old quarterback, who is still playing at a very high level. Very high level. Matthew Stafford, still good at the quarterback position. That would be the dream if you're asking Brian Callahan. I know Easton Freeze has put that out there of A to Z Sports, saying Stafford would be Brian Callahan's dream guy to pair up with. Are you willing to give the number 35 pick, which is almost a first for Matthew Stafford?
I don't think you can afford that, guys. I know it sounds great in hindsight. I really do. Because you're getting a quarterback that's legit right now. And again, we got to think about the future for this franchise, not just in the moment. This is what it's all about. This is why they brought in Mike Bergonzi and all of that crew. But I know it sounds awesome for this particular moment, but I don't know if losing a second-round pick is worth it because they need every freaking pick they can get right now. They need a third-round pick, guys. We haven't even talked about that, and then you're going to give up a second. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to say no. I
saw with Kale on that one. This is a no for me. I'd love to have him if you were in a better position. Like if your car had actual 4 matching tires, I would ride with that conversation, but it's too bleak right now for him.
Well, if you traded number 35 for Matthew Stafford, you could trade back and acquire more picks for the number 1 overall selection and still get the draft capital and Matthew Stafford.
If you had a partner.
They'll have a partner if they want to have a partner.
I'm with it. It's just that Stafford. In the 35, that is a premium spot. My issue with this, I love this exercise. It's actually got me going back and forth on.
I know,
I absolutely love this one. But what it does though is this: this team is too far removed from being good to actually make all of these moves for some of these guys. Like I said, Aaron Rodgers, I think puts a real just hard stop in the middle of the road for everything around him because you got to cater so much to him. You're looking for a guy that you can get potentially 1 or 2 years out of that you don't have to change everything about him. When you look at what Kansas City did, we're going to use that model. Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is a better version of what Alex Smith was already doing. Alex Smith was a Pro Bowl quarterback before he just got shipped off because the younger prodigy was that much better. So you got to look at it and say, what is the offense that he's looking for? From my understanding of people that's been around him, Callie likes Shador. Cam would be in the conversation too, but it's a matter of what and how they're going to craft this draft as far as moving back or being in a position to say we stick and pick our guy.
Sure.
But then there's a whole lot of – it's so much that has – they're still pouring concrete in my mind as it pertains to the 2025 season. We hadn't even got we've got nothing moving upward with this franchise as far as the offseason goes.
Your reaction to Will Levis or the game that Buck Rising says sounds like a Saw movie. 615-737-1045. We get your take on whether you'd take Will Levis over any of the options that we gave you. Plus, we'll take a look at another headline. Could the Vikings throw a wrench in the quarterback domino market and just franchise tag Sam Darnold? Talk about that next.
Hey, are you worried because your home has been on the market for a while now and maybe you're not having any success getting it sold? An expired listing, look, it can be frustrating, but it doesn't have to be the end of your journey. My friend Bernie Gallerani with Bernie Gallerani Real Estate has proven marketing strategies to get your property in front of the most qualified buyers to get your top dollar for your home. And everybody wants that, especially right now with what we're dealing with. Bernie Gallerani has more than 200 five-star Google reviews and over 1.3 billion in properties sold. And he guarantees to sell your home in 30 days or less. Or guess what? He's just going to buy it from you. To get started, all you got to do is Google Bernie Gallerani Real Estate or go to BernieGallerani.com or just simply give Bernie a call on his cell phone, in fact, at 615-428-2644. That's 615-428-2644.
What's going on? 8 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Starting today through March 4th, teams can designate to franchise or transition tag players. Adam Schefter noting that it is expected to be a quiet tag cycle with minimal tag options as follows. Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins, Chiefs guard Trey Smith, and the Vikings with a split option to tag either quarterback Sam Darnold or cornerback Byron Murphy Jr. Murphy, who started all 17 games for the Vikings last year, had 6 interceptions on the season. But to the Bengals, where their beat reporter James Rappian is reporting that Cincinnati does plan to tag T. Higgins, and this would give the team and the player until July 15th to negotiate a long-term deal, and if no deal is reached, Higgins will play under the salary of $26 million for 2025. Higgins played under the franchise tag last year under a $21.8 million tag, and with the second tag, it triggers a 20% increase to the previous payout. In college hoops, number 4 Duke took down Virginia 80-62. Cooper Flagg with 17 points, 14 rebounds, and number 19 Arizona taking down Baylor 74-67. Tobe Awaka with 14 points and 12 rebounds. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW on 104.5 The Zone rolls into hour number 3, 8 a.m. in beautiful Nashville. Kicking off your Tuesday morning, 615-737-1045. The praise pouring in on the 104.5 The Zone YouTube channel, where one commenter says, "This Daniel Jones talk is giving me a migraine." Well, I recommend a Gatorade and a couple of baby aspirin. You'll be good to go.
Tell him, get some sugar in you.
Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. Robert Walsh, our producer. Coming up in 15 minutes, VolQuest's Austin Price. As we get the latest out of Knoxville, our good friend Mike Golick Jr. saying hello on Twitter, says, "Oh, I like this game."
Hey, Mike.
To Will Levis OR.
Yeah, glad we could provide you with some entertainment.
We have Twitter polls put up for a couple of our top Will Levis or options. There is Will Levis or Sam Darnold for $40 million a year. 61% of you are taking Will Levis in that scenario. Okay. For Will Levis or Daniel Jones, early, but 60% of you are taking Levis.
Okay.
And then for Will Levis or Aaron Rodgers, 56% of you are taking Rodgers.
Wow.
Wow,
okay.
Good.
And one commenter on Twitter says, "I am taking Will Levis or the fan transfer portal." That is James.
Creative answer
he's
there,
entering
James.
the fan transfer portal.
Way to go, man. Proud of you. I wonder where he's going after this.
Right.
What's your commitment in,
Who's
man?
to say? Could the Vikings possibly franchise tag Sam Darnold? Kevin Seifert of ESPN.com wrote about this yesterday. Franchise tag window opening. Obviously, T. Higgins, a guy who is expected, according to reports yesterday, to be tagged for a second consecutive season by Cincinnati, essentially giving them more time to negotiate a long-term extension. The Vikings reportedly are not expected to look at using the tag on Sam Darnold. It would be an expensive way of ensuring his return while avoiding a longer-term commitment that would hinder J.J. McCarthy's development. But reports are from Kevin Seifert, they are more likely to let Darnold sign elsewhere and preserve their tag for a player such as cornerback Byron Murphy Jr., who had a career-high 6 interceptions in 2024 and is hitting his prime at age 27. It is incredible how quickly we went from, they're not going to let a guy that good walk,
Sure,
to he turned into a pumpkin the last 2 weeks this past season, and now Sam Darnold is just being photoshopped in Raiders jerseys by pretty much everybody on the internet.
That's the only thing that bothers me about signing Sam Darnold here is the fact that the moment that you have in your mind that a bad play is going to happen or he's seeing ghosts, like I felt like I saw that in that playoff game. It's like, he's seeing ghosts again. Like that reputation is going to follow you until you continually beat it down. The sucky thing for him is he never had the opportunity to really just shut it out. Like it was the last game, the worst time to ever have a bad game when you're that good of a team with that good of a defense with that good of a head coach, and it sets it set him back, in my personal opinion. It wouldn't shock me if his number dropped a little bit, less than $40 million a year, just based off of that, because who's looking for, as Will said a second ago, the pumpkin at the end of the season? What if your team isn't as strong as Minnesota's?
Yeah.
And that's the only worry I have for if the Titans decide to use him as a bridge.
And it's justifiable. I mean, because if you turn to do a pumpkin behind that offensive line with Justin Jefferson and crew, you're going to turn into a seed here. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. But look, he did enough during the regular season, consistently enough to even convince me, who is not a Sam Darnold lover, that he's the best option in terms of free agency. But I think the main reason why you would probably see Minnesota not franchising it, I think it simply comes down to, guys, they have to start believing in the future, and that's J.J. McCarthy. And I do agree with the article saying that, you don't want to hinder a guy like that. You want to start to get him out there as much as you can, because again, their plan was really to start J.J. McCarthy before the injury happened. So I think you've got to do the best thing you can do for your quarterback, your young one, and get something else in terms of Sam Darnold. You can spend that in other places. In defense, we all know you can always stack up and spend money on the defensive side.
Franchise tag expected to be north of $40 million for the quarterback position in 2025. So it would be close to what I think he could get on the open market. But again, a lot of cash for a guy that could be in the way of J.J. McCarthy.
For sure.
615-737-1045. Let's start with Mark at East Tennessee this morning. What's up, Mark?
Good morning, RKW. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Hey, guys, real quick, I know you was talking about Stafford and giving up the 35th pick. I agree with that because what we can get for Stafford, but what if we did that and then trade the number one overall for a team in the middle that will give up their first next year and probably our second this year and maybe a little more?
Yeah, thank you, Mark. In a perfect world, yes, you would have a partner like you did in 2016 around 15 or 12, and you could get 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s like you did then. But the quarterback-needy teams are not in the position to do that. So if someone is moving up to number one, they're not moving up to take Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. They're moving up to take a quarterback. And the teams most likely to do that, unless Dallas does something really bold, would be at 3, 6, or 7. In my opinion.
Yep, I agree. So that would be the Jets,
Raiders.
and Raiders.
Giants,
I agree with you
Raiders.
100% on that one.
Yeah, and they're going to have to go through the draft, too. The Giants got, I think, a good bit of money as far as cap projection going into the next season. So they're going to have to be cheap. They can't go out, in my opinion. Now, they can always make it work in the NFL. They always make it work. But they'll be in cap hell like the Saints are at this point, trying to get out of car.
The other teams that, like, you look at other QB-needy teams in the NFL, the Saints at 9, maybe.
Sure.
Could be a team that could work themselves into the quarterback market. I mean, I don't think the Dolphins, they paid Tua. I mean, I don't see them in that. I don't see the Arizona Cardinals in this. I don't see the Seahawks at 18. And at that point, if you're moving from 18, 19, or 20, like, you are giving up everything.
3 more years of first round
to that
picks.
point. And I don't think the Titans would be super motivated to move back to that range anyway. So, yes, obviously, the best case would be you can make the same deal you could in 2016. But teams aren't going to love Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward that much, in my opinion. And I just don't think it would work.
Yeah, that far. Because I was thinking, like, okay, I know Pittsburgh's in a situation that they need one too, but they got free agency adjusting. Yeah. So it's like, which one do you want to choose? Going from 21 to 3 or 1? No, you pretty much just waiting at that point.
We're talking couple 1s, couple 2s, couple 3s.
So have to be the bag.
A 5.
Easy.
Yeah.
A player at that point, too.
Yeah, honestly.
To really.
Colin Cowherd gave the TJ Watt.
He did.
Trade offer.
He did.
That's not going to happen.
Wow. And again, I don't know, maybe you just made this point, but these are 2 quarterbacks that there's so many questions still surrounding them that it's going to be hard for even the Titans to wheel and deal with those that you mentioned, the Giants. I mean, because you have to be 100% convinced that you want to trade up to get one of those quarterbacks, to be giving up, what the Titans probably expect. Because when it's all said and done, the Giants, it's not like their draft capital is through the roof either. and they got to give up picks too.
Just depends on what the price is.
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan Raanan of ESPN yesterday is proposing 2/3 and a swap for number one. Like, you're probably not going to take that.
No.
But, you would still have a partner even if that was the offer.
Yeah.
It's just, would you rather have Abdul Carter there or take a pretty bad offer to move down and take the risk of him still being there? Dustin in Nashville up next. What's up, Dustin?
What's going on? Good morning, y'all.
Morning.
I guess really my question would be is I see a lot of things. My vote would be that we take Aaron Rodgers, possibly bring some seniority into the depth of the quarterback room. But also, I've also heard things of Jameis Winston possibly could come here. Just wanted to hear you guys' feedback and see what you guys had to say.
Thank you, Dustin. I think Jameis Winston is in a different category. I think he is in the backup for a young QB category.
Yeah.
A lot of the other guys that we have mentioned would be brought here to be starters for 2025 and hopefully beyond. But Jameis is maybe someone you would bring in if you drafted Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders.
Right.
He's a 2/3 now.
Yeah.
I hate that for
he's not a
Jameis,
starting
but he
quarterback.
is.
And look, we love, I think he would bring incredible leadership in there, man. He's a dude in terms of that. But the one thing that sticks out to me with Callahan and saying, he's at that point who he is. He is a guy who throws interceptions. That's who he is. I just don't think Callahan would be yeah, that's our starter, when he was adamant at the end of the season saying we cannot be doing that, whoever our quarterback is, at that level.
Yeah, Jameis is backup material. He is a bridge locker room guy at this point.
Chris in Nashville. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, yes. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Good morning, Chris.
I would like to get started with Mr. Foster.
I'm listening.
I appreciate everything that you do in the Nashville community. Put money into our community with the Positive Inner City Kids Foundation. So we thank you for that, Mr. Foster.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
No problem. I just would like to know, first, Will Levis should not be on our roster at all. He should not. Callahan said that we didn't win more than 3 games because of quarterback play, so he shouldn't be on the roster. And I would like to know, is there any $25 to $30 million quarterbacks that we could bring in and draft Travis Hunter and have Hunter and Ridley as our starting receivers? That's all I got today.
Right.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate the call. I was waiting for the butt.
Yeah, I kept thinking he was going to come up with the top rope of Ramon.
Ramon, I love you. Thank you for what you're doing. But your idea, Daniel Jones, is the most ridiculous thing I have heard in my life.
He's talking about my guy Calvin Bryan, man, a.k.a. Frizz. We do some stuff together around the city, man.
Nice.
So it was pretty good. Pretty good.
$20 to $30 million quarterbacks, that's putting you in the Aaron Rodgers realm. 20 to 30 million. It's probably what he's going to warrant.
Isn't that didn't you mention Kirk?
Kirk Cousins is league minimum.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins ain't making anything here because he's getting paid 27.5 by the Falcons.
So who are the more than league minimum quarterbacks if we want to go that route?
Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones. Yeah. Daniel Jones would get more than the league minimum.
Again, people think he's a
more than
project.
15 million. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That you are asking the question of the exact world that we are living in right now.
For sure.
You're right.
Definitely.
And I don't really think
Derek Carr, too.
they have money to technically spend on a. I mean, they could spend some money on a bridge quarterback. That's not totally out of the question, but there are other places you'd like to probably fill some holes at.
Well, it depends on how confident you are in that QB. You willing to kick some of that dead money down the road and make the cap hit lower and go for it now? I tend to think that's not the way they're gonna do it.
Sure.
Coming up next, VolQuest's Austin Price, our reporter from East Tennessee, will give you the latest on Rocky Top, on hoops, on football recruiting, you name it. We'll have it with Austin after this.
If you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation and drive, or gaining weight or noticing a loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Listen to me. Don't wait to find out, all right? Go ahead over to Low T Center. They make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple test. And with their on-site lab, you get your results back right there on site, all right? Low T Center is also not a typical doctor's office. Their physicians specialize in treating low T with testosterone replacement therapy or TRT for each patient. The experts at Low T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients. It's super important here. The personal treatment plans are optimized for each patient. These aren't just basic standard treatments. No. Absolutely not. Also, for you current patients, man, Low T Center is offering you a $150 referral fee for each new patient that you refer. And at Low T Center, you can get your health evaluated for treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medication, too. So get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
When the glass breaks, we get the latest out of Knoxville, Tennessee on Rocky Top. Here on RKW, Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling, joined by VolQuest's Austin Price every Tuesday at 8:20. Austin, what's up? How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, everybody. How are you doing?
We are good. Enjoying the Vol Club Confidential with Talasia Cooper. I'm on the call for Lady Vols Alabama Thursday. So, Austin, thank you for helping me do broadcast prep for this week.
I mean, if you don't throw to the raccoon stuff, then I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
There's one living in the. I thought there was one in the baseball press box too. Is it not? I thought I saw that. I thought I saw that. I know the Oakland A's had one in their press box.
Yes, they did.
It's nuts.
Separate conversation.
Yeah, separate conversation.
Separate conversation. Well, Austin, starting on the recruiting trail this morning, I know one of the headlines this week, Savion Hyder setting official visits, continuing to look at Tennessee, number one running back in America. Where is Tennessee on his list, and how strong are Tennessee's chances to pull one of the biggest targets in the class of 2026?
I think Tennessee's definitely in it. I think Michigan has kind of been the team to beat there for a little bit, but I don't think they're like grossly out in front, right? I think, you're talking like, I would give Michigan a slightly better than 50% chance to land Hyder right now. But again, all this changes. It's like, I was telling our guys on the message board this week, like, we're really kind of 3 to 4 months from official visit season, and that's when all the stuff really gets worked out. Because at the end of the day, you start, these kids will go have all these NIL meetings, and like how big is NIL and the recruitment? Sometimes it's big, sometimes it's not. Most times it's going to be big, and so like where does Tennessee stack up with the NIL offer? Where does Michigan stack up? Where does Georgia or Ohio State? I think they're definitely in it. I think that, to get to this point where you're getting an official visit, you're going to get the last official visit. I think it matters. And so we'll kind of see where it goes. But I think it's a little bit too early to tell. But I do think Tennessee's got a real shot here. I don't think they're a long shot to land him by no stretch.
Austin, how does Tennessee go about replacing Dylan Sampson's production by committee? Because obviously you're not just going to have one guy step in and be Dylan Sampson next season. But if you had to guess today, I know there's a lot of time left until even spring ball starts, Austin. Who do you think leads Tennessee in carries and in rushing yards this upcoming season?
Again, probably too early to tell. I think the first guy that will start the season will be Deshaun Bishop. Now, could Peyton Lewis get by him with a strong spring and strong fall camp? Sure. I think it's pretty close. But, I mean, if you just go back to who Tennessee's number 2 tailback was all of last year, it was Deshaun Bishop. So I'll start kind of with where they finished, the season as far as kind of the pecking order, and then we'll see if Peyton Lewis or anybody else can get by Deshaun Bishop between now and the Syracuse game. But I do think it'll be a lot more by committee. I think you'll see a lot more rotating this year than you saw last year. Last year, I mean, if it was crunch time, you knew who was going to be in the game. If we are in the 2025 season, of course, we're sitting here in February, but I mean, I just don't think that, as of right now, I don't think there is that crunch time back. I think it'll be kind of whoever's got the hot hand.
No doubt about it. Austin Price of VolQuest on 3 with us this morning. Austin, you're always looking for defense, man. And one of those guys right now seems to be Tristan Givens out of Georgia, man. He's a top 10 player in the state of Georgia. Also got size out of this world, and he plays both sides of the ball, too, from what I see, man. Where are the Vols at with a young guy like him who he said Tennessee has made him feel very important in this recruiting cycle?
Yeah, Tennessee's definitely in it, Ramon. They've done a nice job there. The defensive staff has worked him hard. But, at the same time, I mean, Georgia's going to be heavily involved there in the end, in my opinion. And, that'll be one you'll have to win. Like, Georgia every year has a handful of really good players get out of the state. If you look at the last 10 years, I mean, it's pretty remarkable how many top-end players get out of that state because there's so many top-end players in that state. And so is he one of those guys that can get away? Potentially. I think the more Tennessee can get him to campus, the better shot they'll have.
No doubt about it, because I looked at his on-3 prediction, and Georgia wasn't anywhere on there so far. So I was just like, okay, are they waiting until they have to go in? Because it seems like that's what Kirby Smart does, is wait till the last minute to show you his rings and why he's that guy. We'll see what that looks like moving forward.
Absolutely.
We've been having a conversation for like the last week and a half about one particular prospect going into the NFL draft. That is Travis Hunter. And we also have a guy in Tennessee that's trying to do similar things, right? And Boo Carter. And for the most part, you have been on Boo watch with a lot of things that go on around UT with him. Austin, how, in your understanding, is it going to work out for a guy like him that's trying to play both ways now at UT as it pertains to what Travis Hunter has done too? Have you heard coaches say this is hard, or will it just be, hey, give him as much as he can handle?
I think it'll be give him as much as he can handle. I mean, Tennessee obviously needs him in the defensive secondary, and so like that part will remain very, very important. But, Boo's going to get a shot, especially starting this spring, to prove he can be an asset on offense. And if you know anything about Boo Carter, you know that when he sets his mind to something, there's a pretty good chance he's going to accomplish it. So he's locked in on that offensive part this spring, and I'll be shocked if we're not hearing really good returns as we exit spring.
Sounds good.
Our good friend Austin Price joining us this morning on RKW, as he does every Tuesday at this time. So we've got the NFL Combine starting up next week in Indianapolis. Austin, you've got 6 players from the Vols program headed up there. Is there one in particular that you feel like can help their draft stock?
Yeah, I think it's Dante Thornton. Oh. I got a text from an NFL coach about him yesterday. And, I think Dante Thornton is someone who, has really good size, has elite speed. Can he show the route running, the wiggle that the NFL coaches will be watching for? He's going to interview well. Again, he's got top end speed. There are certain parts of him that are going to really flourish. If he can show the route running and hands and stuff, then I think he has a chance to really raise his stock quite a bit.
When it comes to James Pierce Jr., and we've spoke to you about him before, didn't do a lot of media when he was at Tennessee. I guess, how big is this combine in terms of the interview process for him to keep his spot, in the first round and to maybe even build upon it, since it was a little quiet, towards the end of the year with him?
Yeah, I think it's important. The next, 40 days or so are going to be paramount for James, because I think, I really firmly believe he will, test and show out when it comes to all the physical stuff. If he interviews well and wins over, GMs and coaches, I think you can see him go rocketing back up into the top 10. Again, either way, I think somebody's getting a steal in James Pierce, no matter when he gets drafted. But I think the next 30 days, 40 days or so will show kind of where he ends up, whether it's, mid first round, back in the first round, or potentially back in the top 10, which is where everybody had him, several months ago.
Also, Price of VolQuest on 3, our guest. Austin, how much surprise was there around Knoxville that Cooper Mays was not invited to the NFL Combine? And how do you make sense of that, considering the last season he had in Knoxville and how well he led that offense at times over the past few years?
Yeah, I'm surprised by it, just from a standpoint. I feel like if you're a senior and you were a Remington Award finalist for the nation's top center, how do you not get invited to the Combine? But the NFL is the NFL, and they, like we've talked about on here before, like, if you look at kind of like college production, it makes no sense why Cooper Mays is not there and Elijah Simmons is there. But the NFL sees Elijah Simmons as kind of this freak, right? He can dunk a basketball at 350 pounds, and just kind of athletically has some real twitch to him for a guy his size. And so the NFL loves potential, and I think they see that with him, and that's why he got an invite. Cooper Mays, on the other hand, centers, probably devalued a little bit at the NFL level in some ways, and because they think, well, you can take a guard, make him a center or whatever else. So, I mean, it was a bit of a surprise to me, but at the same time, like knowing kind of how they view centers, it's going to boil down to Cooper having to go out and prove them wrong and have a really strong pro day.
Austin, what is the latest on Josh Heupel and Tennessee's search for a special teams coach, and is there any kind of timetable of that getting done?
Yeah, I mean, I think you see something happen with that in the next several days. John Bonamego, who has been a long time special teams assistant in the NFL, has been in college with the head coach of Central Michigan. He seems like he's got quite a bit of traction out there right now with Tennessee, and I know Coach Heupel talked to T.J. Weist, he talked to John, and he obviously Evan Crabtree I think will have a role in special teams as well, who's currently on the staff, and so I think you see something happen in the next several days.
Also, when we mentioned Cooper Mays there for a second, had me thinking about a couple of young guys on the offensive line, too, man. They were highly rated coming out. And that's Max Anderson and Bennett Warren, man. What is this red shirt year look for them? Will they actually be in competition to start this year also?
Yeah, I mean, Bennett's, going to have to try to compete for that right tackle spot, which will obviously be up for grabs with Lance Herbie over on the left side. You'll have David Sanders, Larry Johnson, Bennett Warren. I think the big thing for Bennett Warren is just to, continue to progress and continue to grow. Max Anderson will obviously, have a shot to earn playing time at guard or potentially center. I mean, Tennessee's got to figure out, what they're going to do at center. Are they going to make Sam Pendleton the Notre Dame transfer the center? Are they going to do somebody that was already on the roster? Which, I mean, at that point, you look at, William Satterwhite, you look at Max Anderson, you look at Jesse Perry. What do they do there? And kind of what's the trickle down after that? You would imagine Wendell Moy, the Arizona transfer, will be at one guard. If Pendleton's not the center, I would imagine he'll have a real shot to be the other guard. And then again, Hurd at left tackle. What's right tackle look like? Which again, that's where Bennett Warren would be vying for. And then what's center look like? What does Tennessee do there?
Austin Price is with us. Great work that he does for VolQuest. I love getting the chat involved. And a listener, viewer, Dustin Gill said, what about the tight end position for next year? And it looks like, in terms of starters, like they're set up pretty nicely, Austin. It looks like in Miles Kitzelman and Ethan Davis. How good do you feel right now early about that spot?
Yeah, I think Tennessee is in a good spot. Kitzelman obviously played a ton last year, was a really pleasant surprise coming over from Alabama, Kayla. And then, Ethan Davis has continued to progress. Obviously Holden Stays decided to leave because, he didn't want to be a part of a crowded room. They're going to have to, see what they got out of Cole Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of hope there that maybe they found kind of a diamond in the rough, kind of like they did with Kitzelman with Cole Harrison. And then you got somebody like Deshaun Brame, and Jack Van Doorslayer, both as true freshmen here early, going to go through spring practice, and you're going to find out real quick, is one of them ahead of the other? Is kind of where are they at? Can they help this team this fall, and then go from there?
No doubt about it. Austin, also, we're mentioning a lot of like veteran dudes that have left this year. Cooper being one of those guys. Spraggins, like, where is the leadership going to come from for the offense this year as it pertains to guys that have been there, the expectation of play? Because I was told by somebody once before, we were discussing old UT in my era, and I had a guy that worked for us say this, who's now in the pros, like, you had a bunch of guys that came in that didn't pour back into greatness, didn't understand the ramifications of what it means to lead and hold guys' feet to the fire, man. And I said, you know what? You're possibly right on that. Like, to be good, guys got to pour in. Where is that coming from a leadership side of things with the Vols offense specifically?
Well, I think it's a great question, and you bring up a great point. As a year ago, you knew you had Brew McCoy, and then the ultimate leader on the offense was Dylan Sampson. I mean, the old Drew Brees, like, have them rallied around him and give the pregame speech. That was Dylan Sampson. Every time you saw him in practice, every time you saw him in games, Dylan Sampson was the guy that, that was rallying the troops, that was talking to the team. who is that this year? Like you look at the receivers, there's nobody that screams that. Tight end, I think it will be Kitzelman. Offensive line, they're all young or they're transfers. I think in time Sam Pendleton could be that, or David Sanders, but David Sanders is going to be a true freshman, just knowing the personalities of these players. That's where Nico comes in. Nico has got to assume that role. As the quarterback, a young quarterback, he was able to get away with it last year with some older guys like Brew and Dylan Sampson around him. This year, even though it's really not his personality, I think he has to be that guy. So I think that's where he has to really grow this offseason, is the ability to be very vocal. It's not that he doesn't say things, because he does, but a year ago he had the luxury of having some people around him that he could defer to. Mm-hmm. I think he has to take the lead, take the bull by the horns, and be that guy this year.
And that's where, like, the conversation is just been around, like, you didn't have a lot of players leave, so the standard in which Coach Heupel and his offensive staff has set in place should be there. And it's like you said, Nico has to be uncomfortable, specifically that position. I remember Coach Former always saying, like, the quarterback has to walk on campus and everybody know who the hell he is. And I need for Nico to do that also, or the expectation that he's capable. If I know his father, hopefully he will have a conversation with him about, be uncomfortable being in that position, because somebody has to do it. Because if you get so many transfers in, you lose somewhat your identity, because you're hiring mercenaries in a sense.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And that's kind of the current form of college football.
It is.
It's a lot of what you're talking about. And so, Ohio State was able to do that, but they got the buy-in from a Caleb Downs, right? And, that goes a long way. When Tennessee did not go to the portal very often, they had, Wendell Moy, Sam Pendleton, 2 offensive linemen. I don't think they're divas, any stretch of the imagination, having been around either one of them. And then Amari Jefferson's an in-state kid. He meshes, firmly in place. And then, Star Thomas is just looking for a chance to complete his eligibility and get a run in the SEC. So, I don't think you're looking at anybody that, that doesn't mesh or doesn't buy in, that came into this program through the winter wave of transfer portal, which means they just have to build around that. But they have to have some leadership step up, especially on that offensive side. Defensive side, you can look at a number of different guys that could be potential leaders, like an Arion Carter, Jermon McCoy, Ricky Gibson. That's, the offense is probably a little bit, kind of probably finding their way, which is why Nico has to be that guy.
Yeah.
He is Austin Price of VolQuest, and on 3 at Austin Priceless, where you get the latest Tennessee news on Twitter. And again, great stuff. Check out the Vol Club Confidential as well, Mondays on VolQuest.com. Excellent as always, Austin. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Austin.
Yes, sir. Austin Price. You bring up a good point there at the end. If Nico is not going to be the alpha, somebody's got to, so might as well just be the quarterback.
Right?
It's uncomfortable. I've had to be in that spot before, and I got to make sure I'm overworking myself. Yeah. I got to make sure that what I ask them to do, they do too. Like, it can be uncomfortable. The payoff of actually establishing that, and you can tell when the guys are starting to get more vocal too. Just let it be more organic through your work, especially this time of year for a guy like Nico, and no days off. Right. That's simply how it goes, especially at the college level, man. And he's a young dude too. I've seen it be done. He's capable, if I understand what his dad is like and his family in general.
Coming up, there was some audio I loved on social media yesterday. There is a coach who is so old-fashioned that there might not be another one like him ever again, but he gave a speech over the weekend that I want you to hear. Coming up next. RKW wrapping up Hour 3 this morning on 104.5 The Zone. 615-737-1045 is our number. Reset the headlines for you if you're waking up late and missed any of the program this morning. Do that coming up in 15 minutes. Cam Ward talking to the media, and T. Higgins likely getting franchise tagged. Plus, ESPN.com has fits for the top 50 free agents, and 2 of them, they say, are best fits with the Titans. None of them are Trey Smith. Sorry. Oh, I wish they were, but they're not. You hear the speech from Rick Pitino over the weekend?
No,
did not.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Got the people going over the weekend. So St. John's, very good at basketball.
Yeah.
At this point, right in the mix with Tennessee for a 2 seed.
Yep.
In the NCAA tournament. They had a big-time comeback against Providence over the weekend. And this is 72-year-old Rick Pitino proving that he's still got it.
I love it.
He's still got it.
That's freaking awesome. And the accent to go along with it, it just adds to the whole speech. But honestly, the message was awesome. I feel like that was my grandpa talking to me.
I feel like that's somebody that cares and sick of people acting like they deserve something when they hadn't earned it. That to me was awesome. I'll be honest with you, like we've somewhat not really dealt with it, but like have like travel coaches. Travel coaches are weird. They tell you how much they love you and this and all that type of stuff like that. And we somewhat was in a spot like as a parent, you want to prepare your kids for a lot of different things whenever they go to college. And you don't want every coach to be like, I love you, I love you, I love you, because when you get to college, that ain't a real thing. Hearing Coach Pitino talk like that lets me know that, like, parents, that's what your kids got to deal with. Like, are you mentally preparing them to deal with that type of stuff right there? And that's so old school. I love it. They need to play that before the game every single time.
That's awesome.
That is reality right there. To have a coach not care about what you are, but what you're actually doing and how you get in, that to me is amazing, man.
Episode 2 of Pitino Red Storm Rising is tonight on Vice. There will be 6 episodes.
I didn't even know Vice was still out there.
I love Vice stuff. They always get in the weeds and stuff. But that was good from Pitino. Parents, that is what you should be preparing your kids for if they choose to go to college and play sports. Coaches are like that. You will get told you are not scum, but like they rail you, like legitimately throw you to the wolves, man. And to hear him attack them like that in this transfer era, in the transfer portal era,
a lot of giving up when it comes to that.
Says a lot, man, about one, the respect that he has for his team, but also the response he'll be able to get from his guys. That is a big-time gift for Pitino, man. Love that for him.
Top 10 in the country, 22-4, the Red Storm of St. John's. They are 13-2 in the Big East.
Nice.
There you go.
Good for him. You knew when he
still
took
has
that
it,
job,
like you said.
He was going to be good.
Yep.
You knew eventually he was going to get to that
point. He comes with controversy, but he's good at what he does.
It's interesting, too, how he used the same exact word that Rick Barnes reportedly used at halftime against Vandy.
What's that?
This past weekend, Rick Barnes said, this time of year, you either get better or you wilt.
Yeah. Okay.
Which one are you going to do?
Flower reference here.
That's too good.
Him and Pitino were comparing notes.
That's too good.
Best pep talk you got. Was there one speech, Ramon, from your playing career in football, of college or NFL, that stands out of like most motivational?
Most motivational would be in big game situations where Coach Tomlin would pretty much say, if you think you're an A player, be that. If you want to be an A player, show us. And specifically when he went at the bigs, the O-line and the D-line, This is a big man game at the end of the day. And I think a lot of teams are realizing that too. Like at the end of the day, this is a big man game. If we want to win any football game, you got to win every blade of grass, every single play. And that's what matters the most at the end of the game. So acknowledging and understanding how football games are won from a guy like him to where you knew it was quarterback versus quarterback, but we get nothing if y'all don't protect, if you don't run the football, if you can't sustain some type of flow of the offense, and defensively, if you don't mash them in the mouth every single time, those things matter. It's either those type of moments right there, Will, or the fact that reality hit me in the face like a pallet of bricks. When the coach told me, in this league, there are no double numbers. We got a 73-0 and a 73-D. You decide on who's going to stay here.
You decide who's 73. Both of y'all ain't staying.
Both of y'all ain't staying.
Were you roommates with the guy who had your number 2?
And I was roommates with him.
And you won.
And I had a kid.
Right.
And I was trying to pay bills. And I got only $8,000 signing bonus. I needed that.
I have a quick question. So we heard Rick Barnes say that he's extra tough on Zakai just because he knows he can be. Was Mike Tomlin ever extra hard on one position or one player just because he knew he could be?
Yeah, me.
Really?
No, dead ass. Yeah. He would, and I, yeah.
That's interesting.
No, for real. Like certain players you go at because you know others are going to hear it.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks, nobody really goes at them like that. He do the same to Cam Hayward right now. It's certain guys that you can say something to that you know is not going to affect them.
Right.
But you know that the entire room is going to hear. And if they hear him coming at me about something, then they know they got to get their stuff together too. Somebody recently just did that also.
What?
When they were talking about, certain players. Oh, it was Coach Saban.
Well, Grant Ramey also told us that he could tell how much Rick Barnes liked Chaz Lanier by seeing how hard he went after Chaz in practice.
Yeah.
Grant and Mike Wilson have both said that on the show.
The story was Nick Saban's. I got a lot of tidbits.
I know you've been
podcast.
listening to a lot of that podcast.
He was saying Ryan Clark went at him. He said because he went to another DB and was like, Coach, you didn't go at him like that. That guy walked off the field and said that he fussed at Ryan Clark the exact same way. And RC decided he was going to walk off the field too and said he went to him. It's like, no, Ryan, I go to you like that because if I'm going at you and you're the smartest, you understand how to call the defense, and you understand what I'm asking of the rest of the guys, then they got to also watch you be this way too, and they got to respond accordingly. So coaches know who they can and cannot go at like that too.
That was when Saban was at LSU.
So in contrast, he mentioned Derrick Henry.
Absolutely.
Said Derrick, first day of pass protection as a running back, he didn't understand it all. He said he told him afterwards, Coach, nobody asked me to do anything. What was the name of the school? Yulee
High School.
They just turned around and tossed me the football. So he said he went over there to show Derrick some love. Like, Derrick, what's going on? I said, Derrick asked him, can y'all just be patient with me? He said he knew at that point, and Derrick's not soft in any way, but there is a different way to coach him versus a guy that can take it.
Some guys need an arm around the shoulder. Some guys need a slap on the back.
Yeah.
615-737-1045. Headlines you missed if you slept in, plus ESPN.com has 2 free agent fits for the Titans. One on offense, one on defense for you, and none of them are quarterbacks. We'll give that to you next.
What's going on? 9 o'clock from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Starting today through March 4th, teams can designate franchise or transition tag for players. Adam Schefter noting that it could be a quiet tag cycle with a couple options. Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins, Chiefs with their guard Trey Smith, or the Vikings with a split decision between quarterback Sam Darnold or cornerback Byron Murphy Jr. Murphy started all 17 games for the Vikings last season and had 6 interceptions, which was a career high for him. To the Bengals, where beat reporter James Rappian reported that Cincinnati does plan to tag T. Higgins. This would give the team and Higgins both the option till July 15th to negotiate a long-term deal, but if no deal is reached, Higgins would play on that tag for $26 million in 2025. The reason the price is so high, it is the second tag that Higgins will have played under, which triggers a 20% increase from the previous payout. In college hoops, number 4 Duke took down Virginia 80-62. Cooper Flagg with 17 points, 14 rebounds, and number 19 Arizona taking down Baylor 74-67. Toby Awaka with 14 points and 12 rebounds. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW on 104.5 The Zone rolls into the fourth and final hour on your Tuesday morning. And coming up in 20 minutes, we'll be joined by Steve Palazzolo of the 33rd team. His thoughts on Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders, on Will Levis, on our game of Will Levis OR, which you can vote on at Ramon Kayla Will. We gave you options of Will Levis or Aaron Rodgers. 60% of you would prefer Rodgers over Levis. Of Sam Darnold for $40 million a year, only 51% of you want Sam Darnold for $40 million a year over Will Levis.
I'm a little shocked by that.
Over
thing.
Will Levis. It ain't your money. You're not spending it.
Yeah.
Be all right. And 53% of you would rather have Will Levis than Daniel Jones. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Boulding. Robert Walsh, our producer. ESPN.com gives free agent fits for the top 50 free agents on their board. Their number one free agent is T. Higgins. They think the best fit for T. Higgins is the Washington Commanders. Makes sense.
That's stealing.
Man, that'd be a nice
right
little
there.
weapon to have.
Yes, it
added to
is.
Terry McLaurin, who deserves help.
Yeah.
Wow.
Number 2, Trey Smith. Best fit is the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
Makes total sense.
We've had that combo.
Ryan Poles coming from Kansas City.
He'll be
Understanding Trey.
Nate Davis.
That's right. That is right. Number 3, Ronnie Stanley, the best fit. The Baltimore Ravens, going back, which makes sense. DJ Reed,
Okay.
best fit to Patriots. Chris Godwin, best fit going back to Tampa. Sam Darnold, Raiders, expected.
Okay.
That
makes
to me
sense.
feels like the odds-on favorite to be Sam Darnold's next employer.
Yep.
Is the Raiders.
Would they take a
agree.
quarterback still is the question after that?
No.
No?
Probably not
That'd be
in
their
the top 10.
Yeah.
No. They got Brock Bowers to pair him with.
That's true.
They got
That's
some
very true.
linemen. Got
I
some
think
talent.
Minshew's still there as a backup, too.
Minshew
So,
still there, too?
Yeah.
Can't wait to see that one.
So the 2 fits for the Titans in free agency, according to ESPN.com, the first of which is a current Raider, Malcolm Kuntz, edge rusher, listed as the number 27 overall free agent, according to ESPN.com. Says Titans defensive coordinator Denard Wilson needs an impact edge rusher to complement his 2 interior defenders, Jeffrey Simmons and Devondre Sweat. A knee injury in early September erased Kuntz's 2024 season before it started, but he posted 8 sacks and 29 pressures in 2023. If his knee checks out, he would have upside in Wilson's system as a 3-down defender with pass rush chops.
Be good for him. The defense, I think, is the strongest part of this team. And you got to start pouring into him at some point. We've already heard what Jeffrey Simmons has already said about who he wants as the number 1 overall pick. He mentioned, who was it?
Who Jeffrey Simmons
Jeffrey
wanted?
Simmons.
Abdul Carter.
Abdul Carter was his pick. I do think that's the safest thing you can do to try to make this team competitive is to pour in on the defensive side of things. Getting a guy that can get after the quarterback and legitimately generate some success doing it is necessary for this team. You can't just continually just waste away week in and week out.
Yeah, and we don't know exactly what's happening with I'm just
Harold Landry?
No,
Arden
Key. I mean, he's here right now, right? But there are question marks of maybe you ship him out and get something in return too. Coming off of not such a bad year, but still has been an inconsistent piece. But regardless, you need depth. That's the biggest thing I think we saw with this defense last year. The starting pieces looked great on paper, but once the starting pieces got injured or there wasn't as much consistent production at certain positions, the depth just wasn't there. So an edge spot in terms of adding to that depth, I would never go away from adding in that spot.
Absolutely.
It's important.
The other fit in the top 50, according to ESPN.com, is Detroit Lions guard Kevin Zeitler. Titans need to rebuild the right side of the line, it says, and they can start by adding a proven vet in Zeitler, a physical inside presence with the power to displace defensive tackles, movement ability to pull on gap schemes. He routinely wins in pass protection using a strong base to hold off interior rushers, posting a pass block win rate of 94.4% with Detroit last season. One of the better guards in the league, Ramon.
He is, and of age, too. He'll be 35 going into this next season, too, if he's not already there, man. I've always liked Zeitler. I liked his game. He is a better pass pro guy more than anything, and also one of the few dudes that's made 3 of the 4 teams in the AFC North, too. Started in Cincinnati, went to Cleveland, and also went to Baltimore, too. So he understands what it takes to be an adversary at this point. So I like Zeitler.
Wouldn't hate it at all.
Just made his first Pro Bowl in 23, but he's been a steady Eddie for a while.
I posed this question because I just saw this tweet go out. So the Jets are expected to not be able to keep right tackle Morgan Moses. And I know he's a little older, but he's been good for them, and he's been a great leader in the locker room, which is one thing we always talk about, especially with this line and this offense. I'd be curious, I know they're probably going to take a right tackle somewhere in the draft, but would you pay a little to have a guy like Morgan Moses come over and be that starter in the beginning? It's just something to throw out there.
He is. He's very serviceable. He was with Washington for a while. Big body guy. Again, protection is going to be his thing. Mobility is what you're going to ask of what you're getting out of dude like him. He's on the bigger side of offensive lineman, from my understanding. I'm not sure where he is right now, but he's a big body that you want that knows how to play the game. And here's what you're going to run into with these type of individuals also, whether it be Zeitler or Morgan Moses. The quality of young offensive linemen in this league is just so uncertain.
Sure.
So you continue to kick the tires on dudes like this. This is what happens at this point until somebody else rises up, which is why Trey Smith will garner over $20 million.
And people are like mad over there that they're losing this guy. They're like, "What? This makes no sense. That we're not keeping him." Yeah,
which is crazy because a lot of people didn't want him at first. Like once you go prove yourself, then it changes for you. So I know Zeitler more than I know Morgan Moses. Morgan Moses has been for Washington when he was there, but they were bad too. So it's easy to point out bad play when you're on a bad team.
At one time, he was one of the more consistent offensive linemen in the NFL on an availability standpoint. But what happened? The reason Baltimore was willing to trade him away and kind of put their right tackle position in flux was that he was constantly hurt. He's a tough dude that can play through being hurt, but his body is starting to fail on him. So you saw that with the Jets last year where he played through certain injuries, still played 14 games, but being 34 with a banged up body, he would have to be pretty cheap.
That's a good point.
If they were willing to sign
it'd be good if
like
you
that. got
him cheap for depth, right?
Sure, 100%. But I wonder what position he's in. He's a guy who's always been a starter. Was he willing to concede his starting spot to come in and potentially be a backup for someone else? Those are all questions that the coaching staff would have to answer in interviews.
For sure.
And the question on any mid-30s player is, are you sure you want to come here? Because this team is not going to win at the level you might want to finish off your career right now. Like, if you're willing to stick around for a couple of years, got a shiny new locker room for you and a new stadium for you in a few years. But if you're looking for a 1 or 2 year fling to finish off your NFL career, the Titans are not going to be your team.
It was crazy with him. There's a magical number in NFL that a lot of players hit and then they're done. It's 11. He's right now currently at year 11. If he gets another one, that's a bonus. But the magic number for a lot of guys is crazy. When did you retire? After 11 years? That's what he just hit. To your point, Bert, I was 11 years too. To your point, Bert, he was in 166 games and started 158. So he's got a lot of reps on him too.
He has started every game he has played in since 2020 or 2015.
Smokes, that's impressive.
Reliability.
I was in high school.
Was that ever a question for you, Ramon, when you were wondering, like, would you be willing to go somewhere and take a depth spot after you had already started for 9 years of your career?
I'm not taking a depth spot unless I know I can get wheelchaired through training camp. To be complete, to go
a lot of vet days.
Yes, Will. when you get over 10 years and you play, because it's one of the only few positions that you have to hit every single play every single day in camp. Mm-hmm. So unless you're going to wheelchair me through training camp, and hey, you're here specifically for a reason. I got a guy that's doing it right now, Kelvin Beachum. He's doing it in Arizona because they know, look, when Kelvin is called upon in a pinch, he's going to answer the bell, but you got to get him through training camp, which means you got to probably hire one more extra body in camp to get him in on the days that your veteran's not practicing.
And so to that point, Morgan Moses is probably somebody that is picked up post-draft, post-free agency, and you get to see what holes you're able to fill through the first part of the acquisition period. He's probably someone you would sign in August when you realize, hey, maybe this guy that we thought was going to be good, a lot like Nicholas Petit-Frere last year, maybe we should bring someone in to add competition.
You know what sucks, though, is you don't have a right tackle that knows the scheme here. So a guy that you are trying to sign, you may want them to practice more, or at least, get them through OTAs and minicamp, though, Bert, so they can learn the offense.
Because you talk a lot about they've got to mesh. How long until this offensive line meshes?
Then we're going to have that conversation.
So anyone you bring in is going to have to practice.
Take two.
So Morgan Moses, maybe not. Training camp.
A lot of talk about bridge quarterbacks. What about bridge tackles?
Bridge tackles. You need.
We've got to talk.
You're going to have to sacrifice your early draft capital and take a risk on a day 2 or 3 guys somewhere.
Yes.
And train them to be starters.
Mm-hmm, but it doesn't mean they're going to be good from the gate.
And as much as we've talked about quarterbacks, that is the point that we'll look at in August and be like, well, what about the offensive line?
Sure.
Yep. That's the way it goes.
We're giving ourselves anxiety here.
I am, man. I ain't exhausted. I love this, okay? But just the place and where this team is, and I feel like I've said this before, you either spending too much money or you ain't got enough pieces. You either got to go get a lot of pieces with a lot of inexperience. You need a quarterback, but you already got one, and it's cheaper to keep them. Or do you go spend $20 to $40 million for one? Do we also trade back?
Yes.
Are you not?
What we need is Morgan Moses to just come out and say, if you don't sign me, you've got to remember that. And if you've got to play me the rest of my career, and I'll remember that if you don't sign me. And then maybe the Titans will be more interested because he'll be a dog at that point.
He's trending on my algorithm. Cam Ward is. Some are saying they love it. Some are saying they hate it.
Yeah. Polarizing.
There is a very fine line between cocky and confident. And until I'm in the room with somebody, I don't know which they really are.
That's fair.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Some people will like it. Some people will be turned off by it. I think some people probably see Cam Ward as cocky, and some people probably love the quote-unquote alpha mentality and want to work with it.
Doesn't mean he's not a good teammate.
I never said he wasn't.
I know. I'm just saying, I think what you say sometimes can definitely come across a different way.
One thing's for sure. The fact that he didn't play the second half of the Pop-Tart Bowl, nobody's going to care in the NFL about that.
Again,
not a soul.
Up to him.
Yeah. Not a soul is going to care.
That's the same way it is with James Pierce. As much negativity has been surrounding him.
But do we even know what that that's the weird thing. We don't even really know what that negativity is.
Oh, it's out. Well, the ones that need to know do.
That's what I'm saying. Not everybody knows.
Steve Palazzolo, the 33rd team, joins us. We'll talk Titans and draft with him coming up next.
Did you know that up to 50% of the air you breathe in your home, it comes from your crawl space? Well, have you also looked in your crawl space? I get it. Most of us don't even want to know what's in there, but moisture in your crawl space can create an unhealthy issue that can make their way into the air you breathe every day in your home. It's Ramon Fawson. This is where United Structural Systems can help you. USS has been keeping homes dry and stable in Middle Tennessee since 1994. So here's the thing. You know they aren't going anywhere. Help control moisture and musty smells and with mold treatment and crawl space encapsulation that comes with the USS guarantee. That's right. Encapsulation helps reduce high humidity in your crawl space. It also helps deter mold and mildew and protects your crawl space from pests and wood rot, turning your crawl space into a healthy space, y'all. Reach out to USS for your foundation repair and waterproofing needs. You can reach out to them on the website. It's simple. Go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com, or call them the old-fashioned way at 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems.